Hey, it's Matt Hartnett from Aftershocks TV, and you're experiencing Poppitt's Corner.
What is going on, everyone? Back at it once again. Welcome to Poppitt's Corner. And I am thoroughly excited as always. You know him, you love him. One and only Mr. Tony Koehl is joining.
Hello. Good to be back, T. Good to be back, my friend.
Thanks for coming over, man. I do
brother.
appreciate it.
Man.
I could use a real friend right now, so cheers to you, my
Cheers to
friend.
you, buddy. Always a pleasure. Always an honor.
Well-
Thank you so much.
Kind of got a little different setup this time around for those
we do.
those checking out the podcast and whatnot. Tony's currently, and for those of you who are listening to this podcast, Tony is currently painting away.
Yes.
He's got he's working his magic on the show that I work my magic on. How about
That's
that?
right.
Double the magic here.
Yep.
Anyway, but Tony, thanks again once for coming back on, hanging
my
out,
friend.
and
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
sure. How I always ask the important questions first. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Like I say, we just got that Gutted CD a few hours ago. We got it from the band I worked with. Is a Gutted from Hungary. I did the cover and layout to their new EP that just got released. And I had to give you one, man, because the music is really good. I know you'd appreciate it as much as I do. We can geek out on it. And then I'm excited because I'm going to be going this weekend to hang out with my buddy Richard Bistrip, so him and I can work on our musical project and get that thing further along. I want to kind of get stuff set up for maybe next year, maybe do some shows and some festivals. So we're just trying to lay out all the all the groundwork with everything. Try to get all the equipment ready. Making music is the easy part. It's just recording it and capturing it is the most difficult, as you know. So just having challenges there, and I'm also going to be doing live art at the Arkansas Death Metal Festival going on at the end of June. Be my first time ever in Arkansas, so I'll be at the Heathen House. And it's 200 acres, and you get to camp, BYOB. There's going to be a bunch of killer bands going to be there. Pyrexia is one of the headlining bands. Cemetery Rapist is another headlining band. There's a bunch of killer bands on there. So I'm excited to go check that out, go do that. And then July 3rd, I got I got to have a booth at Bondage Ball in downtown Los Angeles. So I think it's at the Globe. Pretty sure it's at the Globe. So got that going on, and then at the end of the summer, I'm going to Burning Man.
Jesus,
Yeah,
you are a busy individual.
yeah, and then working on a couple projects in between there.
It's good, man. I thought I was busy, but I keep forgetting. I'm like, nope, nothing competes with Tony.
Oh
so.
no, we just got different types of busy. That's all.
So, but wow, yeah. So which of those events though is going to be the most challenging, just in terms of the overall aspects of getting there and equipment you got to bring, all the aesthetics. I mean,
Burning Man definitely has its challenges, but I've done it so many times already, so I know what to expect, the issues to come up with. I've never been to Arkansas, so to bring my live art rig and my merchandise and stuff like that, flying that's definitely challenging. And then, Bondage Ball, I've done 2 Bondage Balls already. And, it's just all just dragging weight, dragging, art supplies and leather and, just T-shirts and merch and posters and, setting up your booth and, all that stuff, lights and extension cords and all that. But
now you don't bring all of your like CDs there, I'm assuming, because of the weight of.
Yeah, I don't, not anything I'm coming up. Currently, no, because the Bondage Ball is more as a BDSM thing, so that's usually showcasing my leather work. So my paddles, my chokers, restraints. I have a different type of art as well. I have the Pure Debauchery line, so I have that type of artwork for that genre of people. And then when I go out I'll probably bring I'll probably bring some Fishing for Neptune CDs out there just because it's my own band. and I have one of my dear friends. He's going to be out there as well. So yeah, I have a couple friends at this point. You know, I'm just giving them out to my friends. That's really what I'm proud of it. I doubt if ever we're going to sell them, so might as well give them to people that I love. I'm proud of it. At least it's in their hands as opposed to just sitting in a box underneath the bed, as we all know. But I'll probably bring a couple of choice CDs, you know, just because it's kind of fun. And yeah, everything I'm going to be bringing, I'm going through Southwest, so I can bring up to 2 luggages. Typically, I'm always on Spirit, so that's very tricky on Spirit. So, but I'll probably bring a little extra, you know, just because this is only a death metal festival I'm going to be doing this year so far that I know of. You know, if something else pops up, I might be a couple things going on in Vegas, but it's not 100% sure tied in yet. But yeah, I'm always open, man. You know me. It's like if something cool comes along my way, I'll be more than happy to be a participant. You know, so it's just yeah, at the moment, just working on projects, and then you know, just trying to hey, just get things done as we do. You know, the time's a ticking.
That is true.
You've been busy. You've been busy. You've been super
really
busy.
busy.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to know about. What's going on in the world of the Tan Man?
I've been super busy.
Okay.
With many projects. Some, I guess I can talk about all of them. It doesn't matter at this point. Who cares?
Well, I care. That's why I'm asking.
Well, no, I'm just saying in terms of like the marketability aspect and
all that
like,
stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna come out eventually.
Right.
So I forgot to grab the other one, but it doesn't matter. I'm currently the stuff I did grab. I'll talk about first, and then I'll get into the little EP that we're putting out. But as you know, as you're well aware of, we've been working on many artworks and layouts together for this series called the Lost Lives series.
I love it.
Now we just released, or we're just getting to release. At this point, it's out there. The volume 3 is coming.
Yep.
So I will have 3 volumes of just different eras of the band's career. I kind of wanted to go into each of them and why I kind of chose them and what makes them special to me.
I think that's a great idea.
And maybe we could talk about each of the artworks and what we were thinking.
Would love to.
And just, I don't know, just have like a friendly conversation. And especially with me now, I kind of need it just to have a friendly conversation that has nothing to do with all the negative aspects that's out there in today's world. This is going to be a little bit more positive, which I always look forward to. And life needs to be more positive. So,
agreed.
And then we can probably hopefully get into some more aspects of a burning question that you posed, or a topic that you posed, either last time or the time before. At this point, we've done so many of these, I can't keep up with. I'm like, which one? Okay, where did this come from?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm curious to know because you brought it up as we're setting it up. We're setting up our gear. You brought this up, so I'm kind of excited to see what it is.
And so, but just at first, I want to discuss kind of how the Lost Life series came to be and just document it. Originally, when I was going through this large pile of pictures for this demo compilation that we put together called From Crypts to Chaos, Live and Raw. But at the time, it was just going to be a demo compilation only, just to have it out and document it, cement it into history. And so, in case I lost anything, it was out there.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, in doing that specific compilation, I had to dig through all sorts of archives, and one in particular, I had a purple box full of just random photos, family photos, ex-girlfriend photos, band photos,
history. You're digging up history.
All kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh, so I was rediscovering all kinds of stuff, and so I had to kind of pull out basically all the pictures, and literally at the bottom, I had like one layer to go before I could see the purple bottom or whatever of the container. And there was this thing just floating in there, a CD that was it was just like a blank CD, I thought. And I grab it. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I turn it over and it says Madrost soundboard 10/6/2012. And I'm like, holy smokes. I didn't even know that I had this still.
Right.
I've never, I knew it existed, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard this.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's just eerie that it came out, that I found it or whatever, literally 10 years after it was recorded. And I was like, man, this would be, okay, I'm going to just put it in the CD player, see what this thing sounds like.
Sure.
And I was kind of, it's not the greatest recording, but it will suffice. It documents that time period for sure of how we played and kind of how we sounded, and
right.
Nothing's ever perfect when it comes to live albums.
Right, absolutely.
Unless you go in and like kind of re-record them, which many bands do, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Punch them up.
Yeah, but these were like raw recordings, a whole set and it was actually on our first tour, the Sickening Southwest tour, which coincidentally me and you met at.
Yep.
On this tour. So it was just, I'm like, okay, I can document this time period. I already have these demos. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put everything together because obviously God or the universe was telling me, hey, like this needs to be documented too. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's just eerie that I was working on this whole project with the demo thing, and then I find a live album.
Yeah. And
so I get a hold of the label and say, hey, this is what I want to do now. And it was supposed to be on a 2 CD set, ended up becoming a 1 CD set, which it doesn't matter. It's
and this was during COVID, correct?
Yeah.
During COVID. So everything was locked down. You couldn't go out, couldn't do nothing. I remember you're having issues with your wrist.
Yes. So I was doing projects.
That was bumming you out too because you couldn't play guitar.
Correct. Yeah. So right. I was concentrating more on podcasting and things of that nature, and didn't know really what I wanted to do, and just having to find, like, what is it that I want to do? And yeah, I had to have projects that keep me busy, keep me occupied. So this was one of them. Fast forward, in the meantime of going through my archives to find all the demos and put this live album on it, I stumbled upon like 5 or 6 extra CDs that I had no idea what, never, I don't remember the shows. They were so long ago where I was like, okay, I'm like, it's almost like listening to them for the first time.
Yeah, it's fun to go through them because you're rediscovering yourself. I love it. I do it the same.
So obviously I had to edit some stuff out of it.
Sure.
Just get kind of just the songs only,
just
none
the
of
meat
the
of it.
Not the 4 seconds here, 2 seconds of just tuning or this, like there's all that stuff in the mix. Right. So it was just condensing it to songs.
Where was it filmed at, or where was it recorded at?
They're all recorded at a place called Hoagie Bar Michaels. Now,
which is not around anymore.
No. It turned into a place called Campus Jack's as of this recording.
Okay.
So, so I had 5 to 6 of these guys. Some of them are great, I thought. Some of them I felt needed to get out there in the world. Some of them I'm kind of holding back on and seeing what I want to do with these things. Maybe release a song or 2 out of it. I don't know. Anywho, the first one that I kind of went with was for historical purposes, because I just wanted to see, A, how the reaction would be, B, is this even worth me doing?
Sure.
C, what I don't know how many of these I can do.
Sure.
And so the first one is actually a lineup that features a gentleman by the name of Jake Durbin, who was only in the band for 2 months. Okay. He played 3 or 4 shows with us back in 2009, and this was one of the shows, and it sounds great. There's flubs everywhere. There's mic hisses. There are guitars not tuned. There are flubbed up vocals because some of the songs are played for the first time probably.
And how old were you guys back then? You guys were kids.
So this was October of 2009. So I was 18. I was still in my teens.
Okay, gotcha.
But some of us were 17, 18.
Yeah, you guys were young.
Yeah, we were
for
young.
sure.
And yeah, I thought it was a good recording. The flubs didn't really matter to me. It was just kind of documenting that history. I didn't have any pictures of us, so it's like at least I got some audio.
Right.
So I went back to you and said, "Hey, like I want to put together this project. What do you think?" And you thought it was a great idea too.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because more of your artwork out there, the better. But also,
But also that there's a band. I've been telling bands, as a fan, I've been always wanting bands to do this, and because of ego or whatever the situation is, they never do it. And I think it's great for a band to have more content and more opportunities for fans to to support you. If you already bought all your 4 albums, right? Like every major band, right? They'll have like if you're a diehard whatever Immolation fan or Cannibal Corpse fan or Dying Fetus, Nile, whatever, Suffocation, whatever it is, you already have all their albums, and it's a rare treat to find a live album. You're like, oh my God, there's a live album, but you took it to the whole nother level, and you just keep releasing them, like 3 or 4 of them now. Yeah, so as a fan, that's super cool, man. Just to even do one, stoked on it, having just working on one, and then it also gets something new, especially at a time when nothing's happening because it's COVID.
well, but at that time too, I was working on this project and the demo compilation simultaneously with you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying, "Hey, I need 2 pieces of artwork.
Right.
Whatever the deal we worked out is what we worked out." And I was grateful to get, installments of payments, and I could work with this. And I'm like, okay,
Sure.
cool. I know it's gonna get done.
Right.
I'm gonna have more releases under my belt.
Absolutely.
And also too, I'm trying to document not just like the last 10 years of our career, but the whole time span of the band's career. And I get it. Some people won't like it. Some people will. It's just mainly for as tribute to like each of the eras of the band. That's maybe people don't know of us, or some of these people.
Or you hear different variations of the songs too.
Well, yeah. Well, you hear songs that only are on these CDs and never got on albums. I
Right.
found a lot of those songs primarily were on these these live shows. So on all fronts, I was just thinking of how important it is to me. I needed to do this for me to cement and document and give me back a piece of my first kind of dealings when it came to like playing live shows and how I sounded and my playing style and who I was not. It's interesting to see kind of where the band was at, but me in particular, where like I hadn't found who I am yet. So it's like all my influences, like that's who I'm trying to sound like.
Sure.
So it's just interesting to hear that aspect, and then obviously you can curtail it to what we do now, and it's interesting the different eras of the band's career, and I'm so grateful that my dad had the foresight of getting each of the shows documented, and it was $10 or $15, dude, and this is going back to even pre-Maleficent era, the first album. So many people don't know that we existed before that time period. So it was just a kind of a tribute to the band's history and a tribute to me. And again, just like you said, more content the better. Also, though, I wanted to, like, another aspect I know we touched upon was kind of utilizing the mascot and giving the band an image that we could utilize on future album covers.
Agreed.
Because the only time he shows up is on the Maleficent album.
Yeah.
That's him on the cover, and we never kind of utilized him outside of that. So I would going forward, we're going to utilize him more and more. But this would kind of bring him back into the fold, into the image of the band, so people will get used to seeing him. Obviously, there's going to be criticism when it comes to things like this. That's fine. That's just what
everybody criticizes. No,
yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can do it perfect, and someone's still going to be upset.
Yeah, but we came up with this concept of the Lost Lives Volume 1 for this particular one of just documenting how the stage looked. I remember I sent you multiple recordings or videos of us playing live there and just the different incarnations, and I remember you telling me like, dude, I didn't even know you had this many lineups, and I'm like, how the hell did you keep this going?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Just the amount of work just to do that. That's pretty incredible.
And then that got me thinking of, man, this really is important. Like, he's right. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. And even if nothing happens, at least I can do it for me. So it's not, I love your talents anyways. It's not like it's a no-brainer. More Tony Koehl artwork for us, and more stuff I can sell. And,
I'm in. I think it's a great idea.
More stuff we can document.
Right.
And that way I don't lose this material. So,
and it keeps you something to focus on, like I say, during COVID, during a time where you couldn't really do anything. Where you're forced to be at home. You're forced to either work on yourself or completely waste that opportunity, given to everybody. A lot of people made, better themselves. Other people didn't. You're one of the very few people that actually better themselves.
Yeah, I tried to stay out of politics mostly and focus on me, which, I noticed a lot of musicians were doing that at that time too.
Yeah,
so I needed to.
It was pretty interesting. I was like, to see, like just bringing that up, like, a lot of people I didn't think were on that side of the fence, show their true colors.
And I don't want to. I don't want to associate with a lot of them. So it's a great.
It made me know how to work around it for me.
Yeah, but it also kind of showed me who I wanted to work with and who I wanted to associate myself just as friends or just acquaintances.
Right.
So I get it. Not everybody's going to agree on everything. That's fine. There's just certain things that I just have morals on that I can't really, I can't get past that, and that's what makes me. And I have to. There's nothing wrong with having morals and integrity in a business that doesn't have that, which will pertain to obviously what we're going to talk about, in a couple minutes here. But it's interesting with this series. So with the first volume, we wanted to kind of showcase the history of the venue. So it's the mascot on the Hoagie Barmichael's stage. We actually have the logo in the album cover, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yep.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yep.
And then we have a plane with zombies and kind of everything else. And the plane is actually kind of part of the history of the venue because it smashed into it because it's right next to an airport, so this one came out great. I thought, released it had some fun on the back here, which has not gotten brought up yet, but there's some fun kind of magic on the back of it, just to have fun.
Your footnotes that you were doing are great.
Yeah, instead of having the usual
fun.
Like copyright stuff.
Well, it was a fun discovery for me when I was doing the layout. Because rarely I ever read. I'm looking just to make sure everything fits. I'm just like, I'm not paying attention to spelling or grammar or nothing like that. I'm like, all right, can you read it? And then I was just looking at it, and a couple words caught my eye. I'm like, oh, this is not like the normal do we put in the back of it. And then I read the whole thing. I'm like, oh, this is cool, man. I'm glad you put that in there because it make it lighthearted for the person that buy it because that's what it is. It's something lighthearted. It's not ultra serious. It's not, like say, not a studio album where you have to put all this money and time and resources into it. And then also with the artwork as well, like it has to be like, lighthearted. Like we're using the first one as like the demo, the gentleman from Withermoon. What was his name again?
You talking Nefarious?
Nefarious, yeah, he did the cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the first demo, yeah, that was kind of a tribute to that era.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep that
spirit.
Yeah, almost like that style, almost like not a high school, but kind of like high schoolish, fun, not ultra rendered. Just some fun zombie high school art.
But what was neat about that whole experience is I kind of found found out kind of how I want the later albums to look like. Like
Right.
now I found
kind of give it like kind of a theme almost.
Yeah, no, well, not only that, I know what I like in my artwork now. Like I like
see.
the
Gotcha.
the graphite drawing going into Photoshop mixed media piece
Gotcha.
rather than just a digital
Sure.
thing. I just think there's more humanistic quality
Oh,
to that, and that's
absolutely.
kind of what I like in my artwork to begin with, is just that humanistic quality rather than, I mean, you do all kinds of mediums, like this gutted CD is
Sure.
like obviously kind of digital, more digital than say this thing, which is like you can
Right.
clearly tell that somebody actually drew this.
Sure.
And that's what I like in my metal artwork. So yeah, that's what I wanted to go. That's what I wanted for this particular series, and now I can kind of take that same style and apply it to later album covers that we're going to
Absolutely.
do. So
Absolutely.
now when we did Volume 2, again, it was like immediately right after juggling, getting this pressed at disc makers, and then kind of what I wanted in for Lost Lives Volume 2. I don't even remember I don't even think we had anything. I think you just drew the mascot, and I was like, oh, okay, that'll
Yeah,
work.
put them on stage.
Well, no, because it's simple.
Oh, that one. Oh, the number 2. That's right. I'm getting 2 and 3 confused.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of these.
Yeah.
I got them all mixed up.
Yeah, so we have 1.
Yeah, 1, 2,
and then 2,
there
and
you
then
go.
I'll show the third. But this we didn't really
Oh, we did
have.
the demos. What's the demo one?
That's from Crips to Chaos.
That's right.
What I just
That's right. That's
discussed
right.
with
Okay.
the Finding
There's
the Live
4 of them.
album.
There's 4 of them all together, correct?
Technically,
And the newest one.
well, this is Volume 3. I have 1, 2, and 3 now. The demo compilation was its own thing.
Right, it was
that
its
was
own
a
thing.
start.
But that's what kind of started the graphite Photoshop. Okay, yeah. All right, make
Yeah.
sure we get everything straight.
Yeah. But so Volume 2 is kind of like that too, but it's a little bit more rendered, which I like.
Right.
It has more detail. We can refine the mascot.
Well, and I wasn't. That was the whole idea. That was just to make sure it was. Yeah, let me see that too. Yeah, that was. I'm gonna leave it here. Yeah, that was to give us something to work with and to then market it. Yeah, like Eddie, Vic. Yeah, now we have Carl.
Snaggletooth from
Yeah,
Motorhead.
Snaggletooth. Yeah, absolutely. So that was the beauty of this guy. So
Yeah, and
it was really fun to be able to work on it because it's very rare to ever get to work on a character for a band these days. Unfortunately, a lot of bands don't think of it that way, and I think it's really important. It's worked for all the greats so far, like all the bands we've mentioned, and I think it's a fun tradition. I think more metal bands should kind of get it. You don't have to do it, but think about all the bands that don't have an icon. Like Devourment was doing that with a little worm. Suffocation was kind of doing it with their S. Same with Sepultura was doing that with their S. Suicidal Tendencies, Slayer, has their pentagram without the bottom, inverted pentagram without the bottom.
Well,
sword or
Cannibal
whatever.
Corpse has the fetus. That's like
Oh yeah, their feet. Yeah,
that's like
but
what,
that doesn't reoccur throughout their whole album. They just use that on Butcher to Birth. They just market it, but that image is not being drawn in any other cover that I've seen like that. And it's an amazing image. I mean, Vincent Locke, hats off to that brother. That guy's incredible. But now that we're doing with this with Carl,
and honestly too, we've always utilized Carl on stage, and it never kind of made sense to people, and now it makes more sense.
now it
So
makes
it's
more
like,
sense.
oh, okay, now nobody can say who, obviously there are going to be ignorant people out there that don't know the band's history, and so, but the people that know aren't like, this came out of left field. It didn't. For the people that kind of know, it's like, no, he's always been there on stage. He comes out every show. My dad in the mascot suit with and then it also documents our old logo on the cover, so it
Yep.
kind of utilizes all
Yep.
of like where we came from. And
bring the
important.
history into the band, into the art. I think is really important. I mean, that's one of the greatest tools about art is to document and to tell a story. I think good artwork does that. I think every good cover should tell a story or something. Something that utilizes makes sense with the music. You know, sometimes you see a cover and you're like, okay, cool, it's brutal, but nothing specifically about the cover. And not every time, but sometimes. I always really enjoy when the cover does match at least one of the 2 or 3 of the lyrics or something. I enjoy that.
Yeah, or has
as a
essential
fan.
theme to the lyrics or something.
Yeah.
Like what the essence of time was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on volume 2, it's actually features the original drummer Zach, original bass player Spencer, and newcomer at the time Jimmy Eunice. So that was incredibly important to me too, to document some of these players that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So I got to kind of what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of reintroduce myself to these people and kind of reach out and say, hey, like, I'm doing this. I want to give you a couple copies. I kind of.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember saying that.
Made
some peace with some of them too.
Yeah, reconnect with them. So that was all important to me, just as a human being as well, not just a musician.
Right.
And just we're now documented together, which is nice, and so that was incredibly important. That specific show, that was 2008, August of 2008, and I was gonna release it last year, but I figured, you know what, I'm gonna release it. It'll be a fresh start to 2023. So I kind of had to go back to you and say, hey, put 2023 on this so I can,
Yeah, which is good. Yeah,
it's just like I don't want to blow my load too quickly. Yeah.
Especially when you can't tour, nothing really for it or anything like that. They're kind of coming out like, that's almost esoterically, almost to kind of being released out into the world.
But I love that aspect too, of just it's like, oh, what is this? I always love that too. And so, that's kind of what that was. I found an old picture of that specific lineup, and I remember showing it to you. You're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, you guys are so
because
babies.
You didn't see. I didn't even recognize you.
I didn't know the other band members. I didn't know those guys even played. Because when I saw you guys in Texas, I wasn't. Maybe one guy might have been the same, but no, right? Yeah, I just remember you. You're like the only person I really talked to in the band.
But my point is so you're like, I think you sent me the wrong band photo. I'm like, none of these. I'm like, is that you? It's like, dude, that was me.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you're way young.
Yeah, so it's just like, no, that was me at that time, and I wanted to document that with my Deicide shirt. So, that was again. These are all incredibly successful for me personally. Might not have sold particularly too well, but that was never the point to doing these things.
Don't forget,
anyways.
you're not on a tour. Like if you're on a tour, if you're going to go, say a 3-month tour, and you had all those CDs to choose from, that's a rare thing. And if you're in Minnesota and some kid came up and you blew their mind, and they're like, I want to buy every single one of these albums, and you're like, you can only buy them from us. You're not going to really, you can't buy them from anywhere else. Just to make it that rare. Because I feel like we've talked about this before. Like, we're metalheads, man. The more rare it is, the better. Like, I have so many rare albums myself, and it made me happy to even buy them, just because it's a physical content, something I have, something that nobody else can really get, and 2, they gave me something the band can sign. Digital download, you can't do that. I mean, it's great, but I don't listen to digital downloads as much as I do a physical CD.
But it also gives other people the excuse to support you even further than just say a record or two. You have 5 or 6 of them, but some of them are live. Like, it's just another incentive to support that said band. So that's what I'm giving, like you said, people an excuse to support us even further. Now, what I kind of told myself, maybe this would be the last one, number 2.
I didn't know. Saying that.
I didn't know if I had it in me to do a 3rd.
Well, or enough content.
No, I had the content.
You had enough content.
I have the content. I was just like, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to go through this again. Meaning, like, it's a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of funds,
Sure.
and just a lot of, because when you're like a one-man show, thankfully, obviously I have your support, I have your help, your talents. Not discrediting that. I'm just saying, when it's like one guy putting everything together, it's a lot of work per release.
I get it, brother. I know.
So, and I had the time.
But you get to get all the rewards.
That is true.
That's the beauty of it.
That's true. But, with volume 2, I noticed there were songs on here that never actually got released. So now it was like, that's another reason for people to support it, because there's songs on here that you would never hear on a release, even, or at least the first 4 albums. Who knows? We can always use them on future releases, but not, this is kind of the first opportunity to hear these songs or whatnot. So, that was a big deal for me, kind of reconnecting and getting some of my old catalog back that, again, I haven't heard it in 15 years.
Right.
This was like a rediscovery for me, just as the artist. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I forgot how cool this song was, or this riff, or
and it's cool that you guys are tight enough at the time too that you can go back and you'd be like, oh, this is still good. It still holds up. Like, I can't do that with my other band. I'm like, no way. Like, our old stuff is horrendous.
But it's also it also documented a time for us that I can now say the band did exist during this time.
That's true.
B, the scene was completely different. Nobody gave us the opportunity, but we still existed during the time of that whole era of Orange County, LA metal.
Because at that era, that was like metalcore was popping off huge.
Thrash and metalcore were it. That was all that we had. So yeah, man, it's just nice to get the opportunity to document that. And like you said, it was during a time when I didn't really have anything else going on. So this was like my projects. And then it also got me, kind of reconnecting with obviously, Big Cat, Mark, and Richard, or whatever.
Right.
Just say, hey, I'm releasing these things, and it'll keep the band kind of fresh in people's minds. And
absolutely.
Just like, they're still releasing stuff. So then it can give us more time to release the next album and things of that nature.
Well, and every artist always wants to have content out there in the world. There's no reason to hold on to it for forever. Like Prince, right? How many albums that guy have, music videos and stuff that guy's made? Now he's dead, and who's gonna be able to see any of that stuff? And if they do get released, who's making the money? Like, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of bands that I've worked with that I've known, and it's a shame too, because they'll make one album and then they're like, oh yeah, we had enough material to make a second album, but we broke up or something like that. And you're just like, and you always know like the other stuff might have even been better than the first stuff because, they're working together as a band. Their first music is just, they might have been younger. Now they're more sophisticated. They went through the recording process that they already kind of get it, better understanding, better hold on recording. We all know people like that, bands like that. So I'm glad, like I say, I told you before, grateful that you even took the opportunity to release it.
Well, there were many reasons to release it. The only reason not to release it was because of the quality, but everything else kind of outweighed that. When I started thinking of, no, this is important due to the context of it, the time period that it was recorded. It documents that time period for me, which is super important because it takes me back to that time of, man, like, this was actually more important than what I thought.
Sure.
And
especially
then
going back, listening to it with fresh ears and going through all the things you've gone through, you have perspective now. Before you didn't, because you're just going through it. Yeah,
and honestly, too, man, I got to kind of find a part of me again and get that back into my life. So it taught
itself right there.
Kind of taught me to reinforce that that notion of never forgetting where you come from,
right,
and B, that I still have the same morals and integrity even back then,
right.
Because I can hear it in my playing, and I'm like, man, there's so much conviction here, and I still have it.
Right.
So it's like it's a different type of conviction now, but I had conviction then, and I have it now, and I will have it in the future. So why not document the first kind of conviction that I had, my first talents, and where I'm at now? It just made a whole lot more sense to release them than not. Now, with the second volume comes out. And I'm struggling as to I'm like, man, do I want to do a third volume? And the more I got to thinking of it, it was like, like this might be the most important to my career. Now, many people don't know that we actually started out as a 3-piece.
Right. I didn't know that.
Many people, just know us as the 4-piece, me on vocals, guitar,
Right.
and,
Another guitar player, bass, drums.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, at this juncture in our career, it was impossible to find players. It was literally me and Zach Cohen, the drummer, jamming after school every day. And my sister had a band called Sterling Hart, who had a bass player. And I just asked him out of the blue, saying, hey, Sean, his name's Sean Atkinson. I said, hey, Sean, do you mind just helping us out, filling us in for the time being until we can find somebody to play with? Because at this juncture, again, I'm going to reemphasize it, if you weren't playing metalcore, you had no opportunity to play with other people because that's the genre they wanted to play.
Yeah.
We were playing
That's
a
what people
more
around here wanted to hear.
Yeah. Well, we were playing a more kind of old school style, and it was kind of like an anomaly back in those times of again.
Especially when you compare it to like say brutal death metal bands. Like we talked about this before when I first met you at Building Temples from Death. They're all brutal death metal bands. They're all super sick and great for the genre. But if you mix throw something else that's a little different, it stands out a lot more. And that's for me. That's what you did. And I come from a thrash base, anyways. First type of metal I ever got into was thrash. So, and not too many people actually play that, unfortunately. So when you guys kicked off, I was like, oh, this is super cool, man. And you guys are from Southern California. I was like, oh, dude, I can't believe you're even from my neck of the woods. That blew my mind. Never even heard of you guys. I was super upset about that.
And that was one of the things, too, that I always have remembered about you as well when you told me of when I sent you all the videos of these shows, and then they can kind of give you a vibe. I no idea if you actually watched them. I know you watched a few
I had to
segments.
figure out what the stage was. And then it was fun to see just like the crowd. It's always kind of fun to see
5
kids,
people,
man.
or there's like tons of people because we had all everything in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I remember a comment from you saying that what was it? If I knew of you guys back then, I would have been at all your shows.
I would have been totally, because it's so rare. What bands now that even have really any thrash locally? I mean, sure, around the world, sure, but I'm talking locally in Southern California.
Well, I mean, especially like the style of music we were playing, which was more simplistic death thrash, which is kind of cool to go back to. Some of these songs have 2 riffs in them.
Yeah.
But we made them work.
Yeah, made them work for sure.
So, yeah, the more I kind of thought about this volume 3, this is probably the most important one for me personally.
Okay.
Now, just as it documents us at our infant stage, 5 months into our career. This is December of 2007. The band started in July of 2007.
Yeah.
So we had 5 months of rehearsing, of just all this material, and as a 3-piece, and it's really difficult to get a full sound as a 3-piece.
Sure.
But because we were playing a more simplistic style anyways, maybe that's the secret to why it worked. And it's just cool that it's documented now.
Right. And released.
Yeah,
and
now it's released.
In the light of day.
Yeah, I didn't.
Right. I'm sure you guys at that time playing it never thought you could have a physical CD released of it. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, obviously this album cover, I think I told you this too. I originally wanted this on the Hood's Got Talent.
Right.
This actual design of us recording in a, our mascot recording us in a studio as, it would be me, Mark, Nick, and
Big Cat.
And Richard.
Oh, Richard.
And obviously the Diego wanted to use this as his brand. Totally respectful.
Totally, yeah,
I can totally respect that. And so what happened is I was like, okay, I'll just use this same concept, but I'll apply it to this third installment of the Lost Lives series.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how it got its name is really cool too. Was I didn't have a name to title this series. I'm like, I needed it to kind of have a pun of showing people that this is actually live, a live album. And my dad goes, well, they're all kind of lost live albums. Why don't you just call it Lost Lives? And I'm like, that's perfect.
That is perfect.
That works.
That is perfect.
It's a kind of a pun on a live album.
Yeah.
I thought the Lost part was cool because it reminded me of like Lost Wisdom Records, which is my label that I can put stuff out in. So it's just like,
and when you found it, right? It was
were
lost, and then you found the music, then to put it on. So yeah, that works perfectly.
yeah. And my dad is a genius as far as that goes.
I agree.
And so yeah, it gave, and it wasn't already taken. Not to my knowledge.
Which is another rarity these days.
And so, yeah, man, it was, but this third volume represents kind of our entire career up until this point. It's got all of our album covers. It's got all of
that was a fun one to
Tony's.
do. Yeah, that was a fun one to do. Then put all the little, if people know, if you got the previous albums. Yeah, it has up on the top right, it has a little airplane, and then on the left, it has the the big meteor. And we got the skulls, and we got like all the little pieces inside here represents every cover, which is pretty fun to do. And then we have the cover itself within it. I forgot about that part too. That's fun. Yeah, it's a fun cover, man. It was fun to do.
It was.
Yeah,
man.
it was a lot of fun to do.
But it also represents all of Tony's workings with us as
Yeah,
well.
working with you guys for sure in there. And one, I've never done that in any covers I've ever done. So
yeah, it's just the first on all fronts, and I gave you the color scheme of what I wanted, and you got it perfectly. I even was like, oh, can you add this, and this? No problem. Sent it, and
bada bing, bada boom, baby.
It was done. I love that you put the actual mascot from Volume 2 into the mix here, so now it's kind of a central theme as opposed to him looking different on every cover.
Right.
This is kind of now this is what we need to work with now going forward. Is like this face, this kind of thing, and build upon that rather than it being like all kinds of different faces. But I wanted it one central theme to the mascot. Now we have it now, so this is it. And yeah, man, I just thought it was so cool to have all these little Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's what it is. The Easter eggs. That's what it is. That's what I was looking for.
And it's just like volume.
Lots of Easter eggs.
It's like volume 1, like little Easter eggs that if you know the history of it, it
Yep.
documents that. And
Yep.
people were telling me this is the best album cover that we had at the time.
No kidding.
Yeah, they loved all the little things going on with it, and there's so much to look at. And I'm like, okay, I want to do the same thing kind of with this in a short kind of window. And you gave me the more of your talents in doing it on a bigger sheet of paper.
You're right.
And so I just thought that was
that poster. I don't know that poster I put in my car, or that tapestry. I should have that tapestry.
I know we
hanging
should
back there. That thing's so bad to the bone, dude.
We should. But my point
Next,
in
that'll
all
be the
this,
next podcast.
My point is this is all these are super important. There's songs on this one too that, like The Living Dead, I think we played 3 times.
Yeah.
In our whole career. 3.
Yeah.
This is one of the 3. I found the actual ticket stub from this particular show, so I got to document that in it, and us as 16. I was 16 when this was recorded.
That's incredible.
I was a teenager.
Yeah, and then we have we got I think we have the ticket stub itself in there. Yeah, you got to put your band photos in there. Yeah, man, it's super fun.
And it was also fun to put the actual kind of drawing in the actual layout.
The graphite illustration underneath the CD.
Because I forgot I even mentioned that to you with one of your other album covers. I'm like, man,
a demon, and
it was a
Grave Desecration.
Yes.
Yeah, I did that. Like my early career, I did a lot of that, just because it's like, one, no one else I've ever seen ever do it, and 2, it fills up space, and it's like it's extra art.
Well, 3, it also documents it in its original simplistic form before all the stuff, so people can be like, oh, this is kind of cool how all the extra goodies that because you would never know that some of this stuff is photoshopped in. Now you can see like, no, it's actual.
Absolutely, yeah. The raw, bare bones.
Yes.
Where to start from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
man,
it's cool,
it was,
man. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you wanted that in there because it's been a long time since I've done it that way. And it's a long time since I even did a graphite cover. So most of the times I just do it in Photoshop because everybody always wants things changed, and it's it's just easier to change things in Photoshop as opposed to like, oh, I got to erase this whole, or I got to draw a whole other part and pain in the neck.
Now, at this particular juncture, too, I mentioned to you saying, man, like, I would love to document this particular lineup that we're at nowadays with something else that wasn't like a studio thing.
Right.
And I had remembered we did this thing a couple years ago called The Hood's Got Talent, and I always wanted to put it out. Just like I didn't want it to go to waste because I thought the performances were pretty strong. I showed you them, and you're like, yeah, this you need to. This should exist. And it's like, why not?
Right.
And so
I went, such a great lineup, man. Your lineup now is so tight.
And we, it was just like, why waste it, that day, that opportunity? So I went back to Diego of Candle Power Records, who graciously gave me, the tracks and the permissions, and just, hey man, you do what you got to do with it. Like I think all the bands on that particular show should do the same thing. Work with him, give him his image, but also get your tracks and do it the way you want it to be done. So that's what I did. We went to Bill Matoyer, which we never worked with Bill, and it's an honor that the guy did Slayer. Yeah. The first 2 Slayer albums. So it's like, okay, now that's a huge check mark off my bucket list of just working with a legendary producer. Who was very pivotal at, metal in its infant stages during the 80s.
Yep.
So that was really cool. And, particular fun fact of it is that, my guitar parts were kind of sabotaged, not unsuspectingly. We didn't know until, we went in to get into the meat of things, and it was like, oh, fuck. Well, at least what we can do is we just have to re-record all the guitars. So we just re-recorded all the rhythm guitars, and it turned out fantastic, man.
What happened in the original
The
take?
signal, whatever signal that my stuff was coming through got annihilated. Oh. It was the only guitar part to do that out of all the bands or whatever. So it was just telling me, hey, you can do this. We just have to touch it up a little bit. That's what we did.
Yeah, it's like can't do it.
Yeah, it's not. I felt like a real band because most bands are. That's what they did.
Gotcha.
They re-recorded all sorts of things on all live albums. So, yeah, man, it was just a super important series to do. So I thank you very much again for doing it.
Dude, my pleasure, man.
And
it was super fun to, like I say, as a fan, to want to be a part. I think I wish other bands would do this. And I think it's super cool for me to be a part of something I wish other bands have done for years, since I was like 15. And to be able to be part of it, man, it's kind of a big deal for me. So thank you again, T. You a bad man with Jamba, man. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to many more of these things you're going to be releasing, hopefully in the future, man, because it's you guys are too good. Like I say, you have a beautiful lineup, great, talented guys, all amazing human beings. And, I really look forward to seeing what the new music you guys release. I know it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be different, which is very nice, but hopefully it'll be more. It's going
to be awesome.
Hopefully it'll be more Madrost than, say, other bands, to where we can have our own footprint. Like now it's our own sound, even though we've been trying to achieve that every record. It's like maintaining our own sound rather than it sounding like this, or this.
Sure.
Which you're always going to kind of have those inklings because it's just how the band's original influences are. It doesn't.
Yeah, the roots of everything. Mm-hmm. You gotta start from somewhere. You branch out from there.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's pretty much the Lost Live series summed up, and then the Hood's Got Talent is digitally it got released as a just the single. So we only put 2 tracks out of the 5, and the 5's kind of like you only get that with the with the physical. Just more incentive for
Gotcha.
people to buy the physical. And I wanted to do that for marketing purposes of just
Yeah.
like, you want take 2, 3, and take 2 of this track. Okay, you get the physical. Just, because I don't want everything out there digitally.
I agree, man. And and also too, people are spoiled. People are spoiled. They just type it in, and all of a sudden, the whole discography is there. Well, I mean, sure, as a fan, that's cool, but once again, as metalheads, man, we pride ourselves in getting the rare one-off, or like there's only 100 of them made, or whatever, 500 of them made. That's why demos are so much fun to get. Tape demos back in the day. And now everybody's just like, oh, just put it online, put it on YouTube. The whole discography. Then now it's all mixed in a 4-hour set. You can just push play and you can hear every song, every version of it just being played all the way through, as opposed to like, I used to buy At Death's Door because they would have demo versions of like these songs, and like the leads would be a little different or something. It just sounds different. You're like, oh, this is cool. And that's what I liked about it, because I already had the studio version of it, and I want to hear, well, how did it get to this point? Right? A lot of bands were like, oh, we're going to shelve all that. And that's what's cool about your guys' stuff too, because you're like, well, how did this song sound like 5 years before you guys actually recorded it, or vice versa, something like that. Yeah, it's fun, man. Like I said, I hope more bands do this with their career. I don't think it hurts it, because you already have your studio. Like, you already proven how great it is, and why not give the fans an opportunity to just give you more money to support you in your avenues down the line, and you can take that money and you can either, make music videos with it, or buy better equipment, or, make vinyl, that's pricey. Yeah, I don't know. I see nothing wrong with it. I'm glad you did it, because once again, I've worked with hundreds of bands, and you're the only band out of hundreds I personally worked with has ever done this. So
yeah, and then the other thing too, maybe I could have inspired somebody else to do this.
I know, I really hope so, because I talk about you guys all the time, like, and it's cool that you give me a few of these, because I can give them out to people as well. Be like, yo, man, just check this out. If you like this demo stuff, they already have 4 studio recordings. Go check them out. Go buy. They have vinyl. Go buy vinyl, man. Go buy some CDs. Do something, but at least you have more seeds to hand out to individuals, and when they come back, it was like when I was a kid, when I got into Metallica, right, when it was Injustice for All, I didn't realize they had albums prior to that. So when I discovered them, I'm like, what? There's more music? So it's super fun to save up my money and buy each album going back, and that's like, I think that's a lot of fun. Even to this day, there's bands I'll discover. I'm like, what? They have 10 albums. Like, what? A lot of times, not every album's really good, though. There's certain bands I listen to. I'm like, oh, I got lucky. This is the best album. Like, I hear the other ones, but like, this is really, I got, whatever. Like, the universe hooked up this one for me. That's great. But I don't know. Like I said, I think more content out there is better. As a creator, I think it's super important.
But this also provides me opportunity, and where I'm going with this is, so let's say in the near future, we don't know what's going to happen, but let's say it becomes easy to actually do like box sets for yourself.
Sure.
So what if I wanted to do a Lost Lives box set of just the live albums plus a little bonus?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Absolutely.
I've already set myself up to do that.
It's already there. Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's already there. Yeah, you're setting up your future self.
So it provides opportunity just for us as a band, and more opportunity for people to discover us. So it's like, oh, they got how many box sets?
Yeah.
I mean,
how many different covers?
You can have like, the box set of just the albums.
Yeah.
And then the box set of just all the live material. So it's just a win-win all around. And I don't know, man. It just sets, again, opportunity buying, opportunity selling.
And it shows that you believe in yourself.
Yes.
You believe in what you're doing. That's really important. Once again, I don't understand the mindset to a lot of bands, because they're, sitting there working on all this stuff, right? Like, I know some people, they'll be, oh, we have 30 songs, but you want the best stuff. I totally get it, right? But those 20 other songs you still wrote, and things I also found out through life as I make art, not every piece of work I like that I've done. I mean, there's a majority of it I don't go back at my portfolio. I'm like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed on a lot of this stuff. But but at that moment I was, either I was happy with it or the client was happy with it, and that's really all that matters. But as I show the work, it's very interesting to me because some of the stuff I really love, a lot of people don't. And they like the stuff that I really don't like. You're like, that's so odd to me. So you don't know what's going to connect to individuals. And that's kind of wasn't that the whole idea? Like, to connect with people. Like, maybe your least favorite song might be Joe Schmo down the street's favorite song ever in the world. And why were you going to, like, not give them the opportunity to have that feeling because you think your work isn't good enough? I think a lot of us artists need to stop doing that.
Yes, but with me personally, I'm at a point in my life where I don't pay attention to criticism anymore like I used to.
Yeah,
It used to affect me. Like,
it affects everybody when you're first coming through it and you're trying to make a mark in whatever genre or whatever scene that you're doing, and you want, like, am I good enough to be a part of this? Like, just in the beginning of it, right? For me, that's what I was. I'm like, oh, like, is my artwork good? Because there's so many artists that I love that I know I'm not as good, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a hack, But then there's other artists that I know I don't really like their work, and I know that I'm better than. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm in the middle. I'm cool about being in the middle, right?
Right.
But now at this point in my life, it's too hard to care because there's just too much stuff out there. There's too many people really, really good. And there's a lot of people, it's kind of like the same thing. There's a lot of people who are not that good. But I'm almost at the point where I feel like there's so many more better people. It's bringing me down. And so I can't pay attention anymore to it. There's some of my favorite guys that I like, the artists that I really like. But more and more I'm looking at these album covers. They'll pop up. I'm like, who is this artist? This is phenomenal. Like, where are these guys from? And more they keep popping up. And then I'm just like, well, I have my own style. I have my own vibe or whatever it is, and I'm cool with that because I look at other people's art and you're like, they're copying so and so and taking such and such and so and then blending them all together. I'm like, at least I can do different styles, which is kind of fun.
well, not only that, but you're also like you're giving a piece of yourself to the band. Like I told you in the very beginning when we first kind of did these episodes or podcasts or radio stuff, it's like you're giving bands their image, and that's super important. You're giving a piece of yourself to these bands, so it's like it becomes their image. So the band obviously should like it because ultimately it's never going to go away for the band. It'll go away from you. It'll go away from you because you've done so many album covers that
right.
But in their specific camp, those album covers that you've done for them are more important to the band than, say, Tony Koehl.
Sure.
So that's what makes it really interesting as opposed to, say, like, oh, this isn't good enough, but you're also not, like, kind of maybe are not, I don't think ignorant is the right word here, but it's like you're not taking into account of, like, oh no, like, this is actually important for this band, and it's going to be here forever for that specific band. Somebody might discover
right.
An album cover that blows their mind, and it's like, I wish this guy was still around so that I can hire him for me. There's tons of artists like that.
Yeah.
That I wish that a
lot of rad artists from the 70s
yes,
too.
Dude.
Like you ever look at old heavy metal magazines and you just look like, oh my God, are these guys even alive anymore? Like, where is this stuff?
Roger Dean.
Roger Dean. I probably know his work more than I know the name.
Okay, Roger, I think his name is Roger Dean. He was a 70s prog guy. He did like Yes album covers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that kind of stylistic.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, but like vibrant colors.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
Like, I want to work with, I mean, that guy, I think he's still alive, Roger Dean, but
I hope he's still doing work.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, that's how people can discover, like, you specifically is like, oh, I want to work with Tony or whatever, is because I'm a fan of this album cover and these set album covers for this band or whatever. So, obviously it's very subjective.
Yeah.
But I would like to ask you, because we've worked on so many album covers together, you've worked with us on so many album covers. I'm just generally curious what your most proud moment is of any of the album covers. Like, which one did you was the most?
Oh, Essence of Time is my favorite. That's by far my favorite. Just 'cause I get to do whatever I wanted to do, and that's very rare. And I like putting everybody as tombstones because we're all limited on time. And I like the color scheme, and I kind of took like my third eye, my own personal third eye series into that, and have more of like a cosmic vibe. Yeah, just really kind of just dealing with. And I think a lot of my personal work deals with time, limited amounts of time that we have. And I think that album cover fit it perfectly. And I was like I said, fan of you guys. It was exciting for me to work and to work with you guys. And I always love working with like bands from Southern California. I'm from born and raised in Southern California, so I have a pride in all these rad bands that come out of here, and I want to represent well for you guys. But yeah, all of them. I think with our projects together, I think it's also fun because a lot of them are different. Like Charring is really cool. I like it as well because I try to make it more like what is it like print? Like they're carving out of wood because it's old. And like I like the stories that we're trying to tell with all the covers and stuff. And it was fun to redo Aquatic, because it's a little different and it's already something already laid out for me. And so just trying to take the same
concept,
the storyline to it, but just to make it more modern, right? And I like that we can place all the covers we've done together, and I almost feel like it doesn't that's not even the same artist, which I like that. I think it's kind of cool. Like I don't have that in portfolios too much with other bands. I don't get to really work with a lot of bands back to back, unfortunately. There's no loyalty. It's one thing you learn the hard way. Like there's very rare, like Tony Koehl, I can definitely say, you guys. I'm not telling you that's about it. At the top of my head, I'm sure there might be some other bands. And they're probably like yelling, "What do you mean, Tone? You worked with us," but not as the whole discography. Other than like the first couple, but we didn't know each other since then. But since you and I have met, it's been on.
Well, yeah, but we've also established a relationship. It's not just
Right.
like it's a little bit more personal for me.
Absolutely.
Just because, again, I value your talents and I want as many Tony Koehl pieces in my arsenal
Oh, my man.
as possible while we're all still here,
Yeah, I
because it's
agree.
important. It's like this is something I get to show the next generation of people,
Yeah.
and
Well, and there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to hang out with me because I might not want to. I want to hang out with them. Not everybody I want to hang out with, unfortunately. There's a lot of cool people out there, but I don't want to kick it with everybody for like as long as we kick. I love coming over here to hang out there. And plus, you get what a blessing it is. We're only like a few minutes away from each other, which is super cool. And us being so close, it's still hard for us to even come together because we're so busy doing things. It's not like I don't want to come hang out all the time. But, you and I are just both busy. You're always working on stuff. You're always doing stuff. I'm always doing stuff. But it doesn't mean that we don't, like, love each other and want to kick it. It's just got to find our, dead moments. And, we usually booking ourselves out a few weeks prior to us hanging out.
Well,
It's
yeah.
not like, hey, come on over. I'm like, oh, that's a never. Rarely.
Yeah, rarely. I mean-
Unless you're like, I got some CDs. Get over here, T. Bring them over. I'm going to see them.
It's happened a couple times.
Yeah, it's a couple times. Yeah.
But also too, like I don't ever really post on social media either. So
Yeah.
I want to say too, maybe it's more valuable that we hang out in person too, because it's like not.
I like hanging out in person more than just reading everybody's emails and.
Well,
like
I don't
messages.
think everybody needs to know everything about me on social media. Like you come to the podcast if you want to get to know who I am.
Right.
And
I'm
it's
kind of the same way too. I don't try to put up a lot of personal photos of like me and the family, because it's the world. Maybe your friends might look at, but all my stuff is set to public. So and the world's billions of human beings, man. Like I don't know everybody's like creeping on my stuff. I know a lot of my friends and family are on there that I love very much, and I love like seeing everybody else's. But for me, I know the dark side of like the human psyche, and it goes very malevolent. And I don't want to like there. I don't think a lot of people talk about mental health at all. I think a lot of people are just in this delusion that everybody's okay, but it's like everybody else is the a-hole or everybody else has got the issue, but no one else is like taking accountability for their own like
my
imperfections.
Well, dude, like that'll lead me into a perfect segue of there's a severe mental health crisis going on in the world now, and it's a victimhood mentality.
Oh yeah. No accountability. Deflection.
Yes, and people not are incapable of loving. Like I don't.
They only love it if it's for themselves.
No. They don't even love themselves. I'm talking. We've talked about. It's hard for me to bring up, so I don't really want to put us in a uncomfortable set. But like, what's going on now with the trans thing is. That's a mental health thing where people are just so...
Well, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because, one, I don't know. It'd be the same thing for me. I feel like when people own pets, there's an issue with that to me. Like, I have more of a problem people owning pets than trans, personally, for me. And that, I think, is way more people will attack me because of that. Because how many people own pets? Dog, cat, whatever. Fish, lizards, snakes, birds. Like, to me, that's dark energy, personally, in my brain. So somebody can sit and argue with me all day long how wrong I think, and in their mind, they're right. But in my mind, I'm right. So I can't judge anybody. I just look at it, accept it for what it is, and that's kind of all. And same with religion. People want to sit and talk to me about religion for the things I draw or they think they know who I am by watching a couple posts or whatever, and they're so imbued to tell me what's the right way to live. And I think that's a mental illness. I think we all have mental illnesses. I think we're all on a spectrum. I think we all have certain things. We're all dealing with certain demons, and we're all struggling. Every single one of us is struggling, battling something we might not let everybody know about, but all of us are struggling with something. So there's different levels of it, and some people can't control what it is, and that gets released. And remember, man, hurt people, right? So we're all on our own trip, right? We're all going through our own experiences. As long as you ain't hurting children or babies, I don't care what you do, personally. But my thing. And there's projection, right? There's 3 sides to every story. Yours, mine, and the truth. Whatever scenario you want to get into. I don't trust media at all. I don't trust anything, truly. I trust my heart. I trust what I feel. I trust what I can see. But everything else outside, I don't trust the narrative. So if you're going to try to tell me a group of people are bad because of A, B, and C, I haven't seen it in my own personal life. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I ain't going to put my energies into it because when I can't control it, I can only control my little world. So I can't come on any podcast or anything to give any opinion because I ain't going through these people's lives, their trip. Like, this is a trip. Like our brains are just shooting chemicals out constantly. We're tripping right now, right? We're just being conscious. This is just a long dream until we wake up somewhere else, man. So, that's where my stand is on that. I'm not an expert on anything. Only thing I'm an expert is maybe doing a little bit of art, but
yeah, that's
about as far as I can go with it.
That's totally commendable. I have my own views. I've already voiced that to the world, and people know I'm coming from a good place, and I have a good heart, and that's where I kind of leave that as well.
It's kind of where I'm at.
But
try to lead by example.
Exactly. But I don't agree with a group of people wanting to hurt kids. I can't get behind that. I don't get that thing. That's a level of mental health that I will never understand and will never be subjective to.
And here's the thing too, man. If there's like 8 billion people on the planet and growing, we have no clue what's going on in the real world. Like, I can't say I have no clue. like I've only traveled a little bit, not as much as I would like to, because it costs money to travel. We live in Southern California, man. It's like we're just trying to survive. I'm not thriving by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a constant struggle. So the very rare opportunities I can go travel, I'm very honored and grateful for it. But I wish I was able to travel in more areas just so I have a better understanding of the world around. And I can only gather from information from whatever online, news, whatever is being filtered through social media. But you and I both know that's all being controlled by a higher narrative. So you take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? But
I also don't agree with, though, that you can't have your own opinions. That's what
True.
bugs me. Like the fact that me and you can have a difference of
First Amendment,
well,
right?
Freedom
of speech.
I thought so.
I thought so too. I got booted off TikTok for doing a live stream working on these paintings with women's breasts. I didn't even paint nipples or nothing, and I got booted off. I almost had 8,000 viewers or 8,000 fans. They didn't give me a warning or nothing, and I'm like, dude, this is art. Like, why is the nipple so bad? That there's a mental illness right there. Like, we're all born with nipples. It's not like I'm sitting there drawing nipples that have some sort of perverted aspect to it. It's just the human form. Why is the human form bad? That's a mental illness to me.
Again, it all plays a part into what I was talking about earlier,
Right.
with the whole.
Sure.
Again, the whole trans thing is like that too. So anyway, moving on to like a more positive aspect, I would like to get because again, I've already voiced my opinion on it.
Sure.
I will stand by it. My morals. That's
Sure.
what it is.
Sure, and I love you for whatever.
Exactly.
You're good people, man. We can agree to disagree
I
on
would
multiple
never-
things, but I still love you, man.
Yeah, and
but we always agree on metal.
That's right. That's right. And I never want to hurt people that don't have that can't speak up for themselves. That can't defend them. Like that's
Well,
not
I
cool.
don't want to.
That's not cool.
Yeah, I've never want to hurt anybody.
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
anything I want to do, like,
Yes.
it's never my intention to put anybody or any group or any race or any creed or anything down. I just want to everybody to know, man, we're all going through something. We're all struggling. So be patient with each other. We're all struggling with something. We don't all know the answers. And if somebody feels like they have the answers, good on you, man. Good on you that if you have the answers, man, that must be such a relief, because I definitely don't have any answers. I struggle every day trying to make sure I'm doing what I think is right. And I know I can do a lot of things to make it better, but that's my demon I got to battle, right? So, yeah, man, I feel like we come through, and I try to help as much as I can. I try to be as truthful, but people don't like truth. People don't like truth.
And it's
That's a sad situation, man.
well, yeah, people. The truth is inconvenient sometimes, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, but one of the points that you made on an earlier podcast, and I can't remember which one it was on. Okay. So
it's cool that you're even paying attention to what I'm even saying. That's awesome.
It's kind of part of my job.
Okay, well,
not job, but part of my shtick. It's like how when you paint certain shades or whatever,
sure,
that's part of your craft here. Now,
fair enough.
One of the points you made is that metal has never had a community. It's had these little cliques. So I would love to.
It's a 5-year. It's the 5-year memory.
Okay, so let's back up real quick.
Sure.
I kind of would love to do a long podcast. I have no idea what.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm painting.
Idea,
I'm good to go, baby.
I have no idea. We'll obviously have to take bathroom breaks and whatnot.
That's fine.
But
yeah,
I would love to do kind of a more of a
in-depth
conversation with
buddy.
you, because
we only
do hour-long things.
Sure.
So it'd be nice to do a 2 or 3 hour.
I'm totally down.
And I was kind of going back into some of my archives. I'm like, man, I did a 4.5 hour pod. I'm like, gosh darn, a 4-hour podcast here, a 3. I'm like, I want to do a 3-hour podcast. Yeah. I'm just gonna let's do it.
Wow,
so
the longer I get to work on this painting, the better it's gonna be.
So yeah, so obviously we talked about the Lost Live series already. That's cool. That'll be one segment here. But yeah, I would love to dissect with you on this clique versus community aspect of the metal.
Clique versus community.
And just get some of the history of when you first saw these these implications kind of happening.
I see them around bands, certain
Right.
bands.
So let's
Okay,
so let me back up real quick though, and just
sure.
like when you first were getting into the scene back in the early 90s,
Yep.
late 80s, early 90s.
No, just yeah. I want to say
90, 91.
midnight, like 92, 93, 94, 95.
Okay, perfect.
That's kind of I was in high school.
So in that time period, how was the metal community or metal clique?
It's literally the same it is now. There's every region has its own clique. LA has its own clique. Orange County has its own clique. IE has its own clique. Every band would bring its own clique. So you're in such and such. Like, so when I was a kid growing up, the bands that were local was like Rise, was Sepsism, was Lepra, was Cangrinas, was oh man, there's a bunch of I'm not thinking at the moment. But those are like the top ones that I've always would love to watch. And there was like this band called Manson was really cool. I want to say there's a band called Nosferatu. I think that's. I have to look at the old flyers. I still have them all, but they always seem. But Lepra especially because they were in a gang, so that was pretty intense. But yeah, every band seemed to have like just a group of people, and it wasn't about, for me, my perspective on it. It wasn't about, hey, we're here because we all love metal. It's like, oh, what band's the most brutal, or what band's the fastest or the heaviest, as opposed to like, hey, man, it's cool that we're all here. That's always like appreciate about punk music, because punk had like a camaraderie, right? I wasn't really into punk growing up too much. Like I was in a metal camp. I wasn't into like the punk or the hardcore, But I had friends that we all kind of mesh and blend together. But it just seemed to me that everybody was just in this weird clique, and I feel like it's the same to this day. Like for me personally, I tried to expand this, bringing live art to it, bringing, try to help out all the bands as much as I can. Like, say, hey, you guys should check out this label or this person or this other band or this place or these guys to go booking to just try to help. I'm just trying to help. There's venues that you might want to play at this venue because they're more in that style, but I rarely ever feel that coming back. Like time before we were talking about Adrian, all those guys from the Airliner. That was the closest I ever felt that there was like a really cool, positive metal community. I feel like they just go in, there's whatever band it is. They have their group of friends. They're going to do their show and that's it. They're not pulling in other people that's been a part of this community for 20 plus years. Don't even give them the opportunity. Don't even reach out. Don't even give them an opportunity to say yes or no to be a part of it. And or if it's touring bands, you can't be a part of it because they're touring. You're going to be taking money away from these touring bands, which I get. Sure, it's cool, but you're not allowing the people that have worked so hard to be a part of this to show up and to be familiar faces in the scene because there's like Pollo from Lock and Shock, there's JP, there's a couple of cats that I always see. Great example would be the swap meet, the metal swap meet that we did in San Diego. That was really cool. I wish they did metal swap meet like at least once every 3 months, because there just needs to be a common ground where we're all coming together in support of metal as opposed to trying to make a buck off it. And that's kind of where I see the downfall in all of it. Everybody's trying to like pull from this small same group of people. It's like, well, if you're not allowing it to grow, it's stagnant. And then once again, every 5 years, somebody's gonna be having kids, somebody's whatever, just got a good job. They can't do the festivals or those shows as much. And then those people are gone, And in metal, man, it's a longevity. Like, we all know, like all the bands now, like these guys, all the big bands are still like rocking. Deicide just finished up their album. Like, dude, what? Obituary just released a really cool album. They're, Immolation, same thing. Like it's all about longevity. But Southern California is really, it's very hard to be a part of anything here. and it's gross, and it's been like that since I was a kid, man. And like I say, I've been consistently a participant or trying to be a participant in this scene since I can, and I fight tooth and nail to be a part of it. Rarely, if I remember, welcomed. Rarely, and this is not like a podcast. Oh, poor Tony, this and that. It's like, no, man, that's the truth. Like, I don't see anybody else been in as long as I have. I mean, there's a couple cats out there, but not too many of us, man. And after a while, like, you just get like, oh, why do I want to be a part of a community that doesn't even want me to be a part of it? And that's gross. But the thing is like, I'm not a part of this because of the people. I'm part of it because of the music. That's why I got into it in the first place. So that's why I'm still here. And that's why I still stick around, because I'm still chasing that dragon. I still get like once in a great while, like there's a great band, Sacred Origin. Like, I'm really big fans of those guys, man. I think they're really, really cool. I don't get to see them as much. I got family and stuff like that. But if I wasn't so busy, I'd be following those guys all around, man. Cause they're the type of death metal that I really enjoy. They get the leads, it's well crafted. Vocals are really cool. They play really tight. They're tech, but they still have like an old school vibe to them. And I know there's a lot of great bands constantly coming out of here, but there's no common meeting ground. Every time we have like a bar that is, and once again, I wish it wasn't a bar. Like, I don't drink alcohol and I don't be hanging out with a bunch of drunks. So it's like I did at one point in time, but I grew past all that. And I wish there was like just a safer place where bands can come together, have a good time, bring the kids, bring the family, because if you're not introducing younger generation to something that you love or don't have the opportunity to, and plus I don't want to go to LA. I don't want to take my kids to LA and play all this money to see a band. I'm like, I know it's overpriced.
Well, not only that, but LA is a shithole.
Yeah. I mean,
Dude,
parts of it I like. I mean, I can't.
Dude, there's so many homeless people.
I could say that to all of it. Just Southern California in general. There's a lot of parts of it that's just, but it's always been like that. Like, everywhere that is cool is in the baddest parts of town. Me doing art, like going to galleries and stuff like that. It's been on since history, man. All the dilapidated places are the cheapest to allow spaces for artists to then occupy them, make amazing, incredible stuff, bring people there, bring an economy there, and then all of a sudden it's going to get gentrified. And that happens all the time. And I just feel like there's a lot of places that once you have a good venue, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore. And then now you have to go somewhere else to establish, that type of crowd, that group of people again. And it's always being broken up. It's never, what bar do you know or venue that in the last 20 years has been solid?
Besides some of the LA places, the mainstream,
Key Club ain't around anymore. You got the whiskey, but
and the Troubadour,
and sure,
Roxy.
But how many metal bands are playing at the Troubadour or the Roxy? I don't know too many.
The Viper Room just closed.
Yeah,
so
Viper Room just closed.
Gone.
We don't. Like I say, we don't have Showcase Theater. That was my favorite place of all time to see bands.
Well, no, Chain Reaction, maybe.
Chain Reaction might be there, but
Doll Hut, but it's like
but those places. I mean, that's not. Sure, it's a spot, but not for music. I mean, the sound of it. It's the Doll Hut is a living room. It's smaller than a living room. You're like, dude, it's too. It's to me, it's. You want to. These bands deserve a space to be heard correctly, not be crammed in a little garage and being blasted on. Like, it's cool, sure, yeah, whatever. But no, man, I want these bands. I want to hear the music. That's what I miss about the Key Club. The Key Club had a great sound system. I like how the floor lit all up. There's two levels. You can go downstairs or upstairs. To me, that was one of the better places with a nice sound system, man. Like, that's I don't want to go to just a bar, a little shitty PA. Like, these bands, they're bringing out thousands of dollars worth of gear. Like, setting all this stuff up, man. Busting your ass, pulling it to record or to practice. Tear down all your stuff, put it in a truck, go in some horrible part of town where it's janky and sketchy. Bring all your gear, set it all up to play what for 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a shitty sound system where the sound guy doesn't even know how to properly mix them correctly because it's metal, right? And it's not even designed for the room correctly. Like the slide bar, like that place, like that's a hit or miss for me. Whenever time you see bands there, it's gone too.
It's gone.
There once again, man. That's what I'm saying. Like they're not given. There's no place for the metal community to root down. And that's, I'm not saying that it's the people, but I kind of feel like it's the place. I feel like it's Southern California, and that's why I don't feel like there's a really good, solid community here. Once again, if you're part of a clique, sure. Yeah, you're always going to have your clique, right? But I don't really have a clique. I like extreme music. I like all sorts of genres of music, but I love going to metal shows and get my face melted once in a while, man. Like I used to do that all the time. I don't get to rarely do that. And then now for me to go to a show, it's a bigger deal than when I was a kid with no responsibilities. It's pricey to go outside, to drive. I mean, and then you got to pay for the parking, and you got to pay for the ticket. And of course you want to buy a CD or, if it's a touring band, you got to get a a shirt with the tour dates, man, I don't know. And then now more and more bands are not having like CDs. I was like, that's like one thing. I'm not into tapes. I'm not really into vinyl. I mean, I like vinyl if my artwork is on it, but I don't have a vinyl player. I don't have a record player, and it's just like, I don't want to download it. It's my one goofy little thing. It's my one goofy little collection is CDs. And that's being obsolete, and it breaks in my heart, man. Like, I go see a lot of bands. I'm like, do you guys have a CD? No, you can buy a T-shirt. I'm like, I don't want a T-shirt, man. Like, I don't like the artwork on there is horrendous. I don't want to. No, I'm sorry, man. Or you can buy this vinyl. I don't want to spend $40 on a thing. I'm like, I guess I'll just download your music. I guess so. When I want to listen to it, I go to YouTube and listen to it. That's not very fun, I don't know. I mean, it's just technology and it's great that at least people have opportunities to listen to the album before they want to buy it, which is cool. I'm grateful for that because I do listen to a lot of new metal bands, not NU metal bands, but like newer bands that are coming out. And new metal, nothing wrong with new metal either. I'm not, no disrespect to that. But when an album does come out, like prime example, the new Obituary album. Before you'd have to like maybe hear maybe see a music video. Maybe hear one song. You're like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm going to buy the album so I can experience the whole album. Now I just typed it into YouTube and the whole thing played. It was like, all right, cool, man. If they come on tour and I'm not already booked doing something else, I'd be more than happy to. Hopefully, if they have a CD, I'd be more than happy to buy a CD from them. And maybe they'll sign it, But just a different experience, man. Dude, have you gone to not Gothic Records. What is it? Dark Realm Records. Is that around anymore? Is that still? Yeah, but I haven't been there since I was a kid. So like, for me to go into music shops these days, it's just an odd time to be a fan. I don't feel like, not that necessarily has to be like elitism, but one of my favorite things about metal is the elitism part. Is the gatekeeping aspect to it. For me, I like having certain bands that I can share with my friends that I can turn them on to. Not that I'm just going to keep this music and let nobody hear it. Like when I was a kid, I used to burn CDs to all my friends. I like, all right, dude, here's like 4 bands I love. I'm going to give you like my 4 favorite songs. I'm going to burn a CD for you. And I love turning my friends on to music. But I don't know, man. Now it's like, everybody was just, they're finding their own music by, Spotify. Like it's just being discovered by an algorithm, not by you digging through CD shops. You look at the cover, like, what the heck is this thing? It's amazing. I got to check this out. It's just a different time now. I'm not saying that it's better or worse. It's just different, but there's certain aspects to it I really miss. And I miss going to a record shop like Wild Rags was one of my favorite ones. I miss going there and bumping into it like another metalhead. You're like, oh, dude, you're looking at a shirt. you're like, oh, what's that band? And you're like, hey, what kind of music? What kind of band is that? How many conversations I've had? They're like, oh, dude, so and so from Poland. I'm like, what? Do they have their CD here? Like, what do they kind of sound like? But just to have a conversation with like a stranger, right? Like a potential. Anytime anybody has a metal shirt, your metalheads are buddies, man. I go travel around this planet, and if somebody has a metal shirt, I'm like, oh, I have a lot to talk with this person. This guy doesn't even know who I am. I'm about to blow their mind. You know, I mean, all the full cool bands I've worked with. But then I just feel like a lot of the new guys I bumped into, I'm like, oh yeah, you ever heard of so-and-so or such and such? And no. I'm like, damn, you never heard of this band or that band or this band or this band? And I'm just racking them off, man. Nope. I was like, oh, okay, well, dang, you're not very fun to talk to. Like, what band you? And then they start naming these weird, obscure bands. I'm like, I bet they're cool, but I don't know. I can't connect with you on this, man. That's kind of sad to me, you know. The last few metalheads I kind of bumped into, and they're all metaled out. Their hat has the death metal logo. Their hoodies got the, you know, and they're down to they're all death metal out. It's cool now, right? That you can have your whole attire, get down to the shoes and socks. You can have all metal, you know, and yeah, it's just different. It's just really different. Like everybody's kind of standoffish. Nobody wants to like have a brotherhood in it. From my experience, not saying that it don't exist. Maybe in your neck of the woods, wherever your people are at, you know, maybe in Connecticut or Chicago or New Orleans or Texas. You know, Texas, they roll hard in their death metal in Texas, you know. But when I get to go to different festivals, you know, around the United States, or I went to Switzerland a couple years back, you know, that's a lot of fun, you know, doing that. I feel like there's more camaraderie there, but just because you're out of your element.
Well, again, I have a completely different perspective. I'm glad you're talking about your specific perspective, because I didn't know any of that. You know, it's kind of interesting to hear a different perspective, like what you mean by like gatekeeping and your specific things of like, yeah, like you're right, like the fan aspect of just there's no loyalty to bands. I always feel like there's only loyalty to nostalgia. So like where we're at now, everybody's on this nostalgia thing of
Tapes.
No, not
tapes.
Not just formats. I'm talking bands. You know, you're naming old bands, Deicide and
Yeah.
Obituary. Like the new bands don't stand a chance because they don't have that nostalgia. The problem with most of the nostalgia bands that you're naming, there's a lot of gatekeeping involved. Like there's a lot of bands where if you don't agree with them politically wise, they won't even take you out. They won't. They won't.
From band to band, you mean?
Band to band,
right,
yeah.
Right. Not
so
just
like,
as a fan, just as somebody just buying records.
no, just a band from a band's
Gotcha.
perspective. It's
I
like
see.
it's even worse than a fan perspective.
Sure.
So, you know that there's not a lot of money in this business. I would say not in an extreme metal category, because it's for an extreme. It's for an extreme individual who likes extreme who likes extreme things, right?
Right.
Who likes very chaotic things. That's what this style of music pertains to.
Right.
Now, with like being in a band that's like, you know, and where you don't even get the same opportunities that other bands get, because it's like it's all about the bottom dollar rather than it being about the music. Now, that's where that's what's has killed the community aspect. That's why you have cliques, is because this clique only gets this part of the pie, and this clique.
Right.
So that's why metal is on a dying. I think it's dying in terms of being discovered by new fans. What's going to happen? And I've had this same conversation over and over again, but it still has not been answered. You know, to obviously it won't until it actually happens. But what's going to happen when all the old bands are gone and all you're going to have left is, you know, I bet you it'll just turn into AI and you don't even need a band anymore.
Dude,
and
well,
so at that point it just becomes about nostalgia. Like the fact that you can make a band that sounds like old school Metallica from this time period by typing in a couple words.
Isn't that crazy?
You know, it's only going to get better from here too, which is a
and
scary
same with the
thing.
art too. Like
Well, again,
same with the art.
we
Man,
did
blowing out my for me, it's so much more difficult to compete because now you have AI. Just saw a guy today post up all this AI art. He's selling it for $30, like a piece of amazing art. I'm like, dude, you're selling it for $30? He's like, yeah, if you buy 5 of them for $100. I'm like, how does anybody compete? Like gas alone's like $60 just to fill up your gas tank, and that's being modest, Yeah, it's yeah, but I don't know, man. For me, I think metal's getting bigger because now you have video games, you got cartoons, you have the internet. But what I think is going to end up happening is that other subgenres are just going to keep popping out, right? Like, the whole pirate metal or the folk metal, like that's getting kind of big. There's going to be different meshes of it, right? There might be more, I don't know really, man, because have you noticed how many metal festivals there are? Like there's more metal festivals like this year than I have ever remembered just ever seeing. So many metal festivals. Huge. Milwaukee Metal Fest just came back, right? You got all around the world. I think there's another one in Vegas. I just came back from a metal festival. I mean, it wasn't death metal or nothing, but it was like metal. It was it was the Apocalypse in the Desert, right? But then you have like stoner rock, doom, different genre, slam, technical, old school, black metal. Like I just think it's just thrash. Thrash is kind of making kind of a fun comeback. Black and thrash. Now there's progressive deathcore. There's all these. The metal tree is just growing more and more and more, and then there's different festivals for each of these subgenres. Right, like there's one in the UK. There's a technical death metal festival in the UK they have every year. There's Czech Republic. They got their Obscene Extreme festival, more grind and stuff like that. I think metal will always be around. It's just if we want to participate in all of this stuff. If you want to, and for me, like you're talking about all these bands. I've seen all these bands, like all these. Like for me, at my time, at the albums I loved for all these great bands that came out, right? Like the Obituaries and the Cannibal Corpse and Malevolent Creation and I mean, there's Nile, whatever, like all the other bands that we're talking about. I've seen so many great bands in my life. It's very hard. Like even Archspire, I've seen them a few times already. Big fans of those dudes, and they're already on their 4th album, 5th album, or whatever. But I just feel that not that there's an oversaturation, with a lot of bands that are not really standing out. Like we've talked about it before. Like I feel like a lot of bands, tonal wise, like the tone of their music, the guitars, the drums, even the vocals, like the production, that all sounds the same. Like a lot of bands. So when you listen to a band, you're like, oh yeah, you guys are good, man. You're super, very talented, very technical, or whatever it is. Like I can't do any of this stuff. It's cool, but the songwriting, I'm like, I can't hum nothing that you guys did. I mean, it's cool that you can play all these rad riffs once again, but like I like to try to remember what I heard, as opposed to like a cacophony where you're just like, oh my God, you guys are so technical. You're fun to watch because it's like watching like sped up jazz, but there's moments where I would really like to just to really headbang or like, oh, if I was a younger fellow, getting that pit again, but there's very rare you get that from the metal that's being exposed to me. Not saying it doesn't exist. I mean, how many bands are constantly releasing music per day? I don't have the time to even try to wrap my mind around it. And I think that's why a lot of these older bands are still doing it because that's what we grew up with, right? But I would imagine once these bands stop making albums, there's going to be a void, and the bands that have been working hard right underneath them are going to, take their spot. And if they don't kill themselves, it's kind of a shame with Travis Strand, is that his last name? From Black Dahlia Murder. Like that's such a heavy blow in the metal community. It's so sad. Really sad, because I know a lot of people really love that band. I'm very grateful I was able to work with them at one point. And they did, they really put like that deathcore on the map. And from everything I've seen and heard from other people, he was a really nice guy. And, he was helping out other underground bands. He had his Trevor's Obituary or whatever it was. And he was like the bridge from old to new. And that was such an important role for him to play. And they wouldn't have anybody like that anymore. So now there's a void that no one's really, taking that spot. And, there's always bands, like Cattle Decapitation, right? Like those guys, now they're kind of making a, doing kind of a cross-pollination too. Like they're extreme, but now they're putting clean vocals in. So they're kind of pulling in more of different types of crowds. I'm realizing a lot more bands are doing that, putting more clean vocals in their music. It's for people, not my taste per se, but it's all art, and if it makes them happy, who cares what anybody thinks, right? And if there's people that love it, good on them. But the style of like death metal I'm always trying to search out, I can't find really. I can't really find the bands that when I grew up, I can't find like the Gorefest False. I can't find the Suffocation Pierce from Within. You know what I mean? I can't find those like Pungent Stench, Been Caught Buttering style. Like I'm sure they might be out there. I'm sure people out there probably be sending me some stuff in here. But the problem is like, if you're going to send me a band that sounds like those guys, that defeats the point, because those bands sound like that. Like, like Gutted, Bleed For Us to Live. Like, dude, that album is so sick. Like, I would love to find another band in the same vein, but, oh yeah, that's from Hungary. The Gutted from Bleed For Us to Live, they're from Illinois. Like, came out in 95 or whatever. Yeah, and that album is great. The new, but the EP, I wish it was an album. It's like too short for me. But yeah, very blessed. Like, not saying that the bands are not coming out doing rad stuff, like Morbid Angel. Like, I wish there was another Morbid Angel Covenant album. I love that album, just bands in that vein. And I just, and I search and I look and I try to find, like I say, there's no lack of talent. There's no lack of that. But a lack of originality, I can't find really original bands. And putting in clean vocals to me is not original. It's like, you kind of defeat the purpose for me. Like I like extreme aggressive music, and whatever you guys want to do that's fine. It's your prerogative. That's just not the metal I'm into. Like if you're gonna put clean vocals, then I'd much rather listen to thrash, or listen to like hardcore. You know what I mean? And it kind of bums me out that a lot of like newer thrash bands have like blast beats in it. You're like, that's cool and all, but it's not thrash. Like thrash doesn't have blast beats. That's, I don't know. It's just, I just feel like so many bands now just try to take from all the little aspects of what's done before, and they'll mix an amalgamation of it, speed it up, and now it's like, it's supposed to be impressive. And like, once again, man, not saying there's not a lack of talented bands. It's just very hard for me to find a band where I'm like, oh my God, that really sounds like these guys sound like them. Like, I never heard a band. It can sound the same elements, like Beheaded recounts or oh my God, no, not recounts oh my God, I can't think of the darn. I see the cover in my head, but there's a Beheaded album. I love. Studio So did the cover. Recount the Disembodiment. I guess Recount the Disembodiment. Like that album. I love that album. Nothing, like I say, Beheaded's a rad band, but I feel like a lot of bands have these certain key albums that are just like, ooh, like so good to me. Once again, this is just to me. I'm going through my own trip. I'm having my own experience. These albums like release something in me that I thoroughly enjoy, and this only style of music can release that feeling in my soul. And that's what I'm searching for. Like Arsis, like the first Arsis album, A Celebration of Guilt. That's such a beautiful album. I love that album so much. Not saying that other stuff isn't good, but just something magical for me about that, Yeah, Carcass released a new album, but like I like the older Carcass. To me is Disencanting the Insolubris, if I'm saying that correctly. Like, to me, that's my favorite album by those guys. I'm that's what I'm searching for. I'm trying to find, Cryptopsy, first 2 Cryptopsy albums. Like, I love Cryptopsy. Their other stuff is cool and all, but there's just something about that, man. There's something about those albums that I don't know. Maybe it's the way they recorded it. It's like the tone of it, and I think that's what I like about it. I like the different tones of things. But I don't know, for me in metal, and I know kind of a fun thing too about working with bands is that I get to hear like a lot of bands that I've never would have heard of, and then you get to listen to their album, like, oh, these guys are pretty bad. Would have never stumbled upon you guys unless somebody showed me. And then I don't have too many. You're like the only friend I really have that's in metal, other than other guys being in bands. Another really cool band I love that are local is Nema. They're another one of my favorite local bands. I personally feel like they have an original sound. That's all I'm looking for, man. And bless all the metal bands out there, keep going and holding the torch and doing it. And no disrespect to any band in general. It's super hard to be in a band, but yeah, man, we're just at these waves. I think we're just at a wave. We're at a certain part of this wave. It hasn't crashed yet. It hasn't peaked yet. We're just riding this thing out somewhere, and we don't know where it's going, right? It's just being exposed more and more to people, and people are just taking bits and chunks of it and adding their own 2 cents, which is great. And hopefully at one point in time, but I don't think there will ever be like the golden age of like death metal when it first came out, unless it's a whole nother genre of music. It's just a whole completely different, because there's already been like, it's already been laid out. Like, new bands can just pick and choose what's death metal. Like, what's death metal to me? It's got to be 300 BPMs and blah, 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 which is great, which is fine. It's cool. But at the time, you had thrash bands first. Like, what's faster than thrash? Well, it's got to be grindcore. It's got to be, taking hardcore elements to it. Speed it up, make it rad. But from this point, how fast you want to go? 400 BPMs? Like, I guess, sure. But at a certain point, don't you just get bored? You just listen to it, like, yeah, okay. I don't know how many times I can listen to an Origin album. You're like, oh, these guys are great. But if it was on a shuffle, they listen to like 5 albums of that back to back, I would just be bored out of my mind. I'm like, I guess, yeah, cool. Like, cool, they can do that. I can't do that. And they're amazing musicians and stuff. But I don't know. Like, where's the, that's why I love Disincarnate. Like James Murphy stuff. Like old Broken Hope. Like I like I don't know, I just like that era. I like that rhythm to it. I like the BPMs on that. I like when there was fast songs and then mixed in it with like instrumental songs. Where's the beauty mixed in it with the brutality? Where's that aspect? Rare if you get that anymore. It's all about how brutal you can be, which is cool. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of, I've seen a lot of bands in my day. I owned a lot of records. I've worked with a lot of bands, and I guess I could say I know a little bit about metal, man. And I really hope they blooms out to more creative stuff. Truly, I would love to hear more just original bands that not trying to copy like everybody else.
Well, the problem is when a band tries to do originality, they still get shit on. So it's always that weird dynamic too of like let a band.
Are you making music for yourself, or are you making music for fans?
Yourself. Like it's like
so it shouldn't matter what other people think.
Well, but that's the problem I'm having though with that is that in order to make the genre grow, like people have to like a band, they have to get behind a band or the powers that be have to put in the energy to promote a band. Like, look, dude, you want to talk about Trevor Stenand or whatever? How about and again we I'm not a big fan of other types of bands, but one of the bands I was a big fan of was Power Trip, and Riley Gale is no longer with us. He died a
He
few
was like
years.
a thrash band, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was,
But
they had like one album, right? With that
two. They have
two albums. That's right.
But-
we talked about this guy before.
But the my point is everybody got behind this band, and now that band's, you know, they have
But I think it happens to all the bands, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's really weird. And it's so weird. Like, it's so important if you found a band with the album, that whatever album it is, and they're touring on that album, it's so vital to go see them on that tour, because you never know. Next year they might get the girlfriend pregnant or wife pregnant or get in a car accident or something. The odds of seeing the same lineup, like, I am so grateful I have seen like the lineups of my favorite bands, and once again, it's not like. It's so hard too, because certain bands only like the one original member in it. And it's like the music in it isn't good, but like, I don't know, certain lineups, man, it's just it's like, oh, whatever, you 4 or 3 or people come together, and that was amazing.
Sometimes those same people get back together and the chemistry isn't there either.
absolutely.
So it's always that weird dynamic
yeah.
of
Timing
and
Yeah.
where people are at in their life,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
people get over it.
Yep.
You know, after a certain
Yep,
point,
that's
man,
true.
like for me, I've had to do other projects because I get burned out.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to do music or do the band full time or podcasting full time or this
That's the same,
aspect.
that's the same with me with
So
art. That's why I get into leather. You know what I mean? I do leather because I just don't want to paint and draw all the time.
No,
like, I'm
it's-
bored. I'm doing it my entire life. You know, I still want to be creative, and there's no. I mean, why not try a different medium? Like I say, it's super cool that you've been doing these podcasts. What's the next level? Doing a documentary. Where are you at?
And there's like certain facets of that give me a headache, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the music rights,
I
it's like, dude,
I
like,
couldn't fathom. the
why
amount of
can't it
work.
just be easy?
Nothing's ever easy.
No.
What? Nothing is easy.
No.
You go take out the trash. Like, I gotta go take out the trash. I'm gonna take out the trash right now. And like all the little, there's always a bunch of little steps, right?
I gotta feed the dog.
Yeah,
Gosh
oh
darn
my
it.
God, all the things, but it's fun to have a goal that is difficult, because when you get to the end of that, you're just like, it was so worth it. And I am so proud of myself because I didn't quit. Exactly. That's the whole point. You don't quit, right? That's the same thing with my album, with Fishing for Neptune. Like, it took us 14 years to get that album out. Like, that's one of my most proudest achievements, because I didn't quit. Like, I could have multiple times I wanted to quit, you know, but the album's out and we don't really do anything anymore, unfortunately. But I got the album, and it doesn't matter. I have proof that me and my buddies threw down some funky rock goodness. I have proof of it now. Before, it was just like, oh, I say I did it. But like, an album is so, like I say, a record is so important. It's a record of your time. It's a record of your creativity. It's a record of your thoughts. It's a record of your talents at that time. Like, when you play your early stuff and then you play your newest stuff, you can hear a distinct difference. Like, oh yeah, wow, these guys are way more technical than when they first started. But you have somewhere to start. Like, if you just came out with a phenomenal album and everybody's like, oh my God, these guys have been great since day one, you're like, oh, no. Many. Here's these other albums. They're not as good as this, but they're still good. And now you can hear where we came from.
Well,
That's why I love demos.
But the problem with being in a band like this is that people don't appreciate, like, us artists or any artist to be, you know, why we're here, dude. And that's the main reason why I'm still adding to my catalog is just because I want somebody to have like a fun experience with the band, you know.
Now, do you feel like, sometimes I feel that how it's all set up with inflation and everything's being super, super expensive, and so more people are just forced to work and do their job and don't have the opportunity to, like I say, find new music, go support bands. To me, I feel like sometimes, I'm lucky because I get to work with bands So there's times where I'm able to do live art. I can set up, go to a show, I can have a little booth, and maybe there might be a band that wants a T-shirt design or an album cover or something. So it's like work and play. But if I had to do a 9 to 5 all the time, and by the time I got home, I'm just too tired to even go and try to support. I personally feel like it's a lot of people are in the same boat. We're just in rare cases because this is what we do. We're part. We make stuff part of the scene. We're not just spectators. We're participants. So I think it's easier for us, and we might have an skewed perspective because we do work into it, and we've spent so much time, most of my life, been a part of it. So I feel deep down inside that I think a lot of people would love to do it, but they can't get babysitters or, whatever the case is. They might, sometimes you ever go to one of your favorite bands comes through and you're like, they played in my area? How did I not know that they're playing in my area? A few times that's happened to me. I'm like, dude, I would have loved to have gone to that show. Or sometimes it's double booked. I'm like, I'm already booked to do a other thing here. Like I want to see Exhumed. They're playing in San Diego with Vitriol. I think the band's Vitriol, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And I was just like, oh man, like that definitely would have been a great show to go to. It's definitely action packed, but I think a lot of people just are super busy, man. They just and once again, lack of a place where there's always going to be metal. There's always going to be cool bands going to be showing up. Like Gorilla Mall. It's a shame that Gorilla Mall is not attached to like a venue.
Well, but I think that that Grill Mall is a rare case of it that it doesn't need to be. That's a kind of a, they need to be when they want to be, rather than it being like a case of like necessity. Like they are a food place that supports and promotes metal music, rather than it being like just like only a metal place that just happens to have food. Like it's promoted as like a food place first and foremost, rather than it being like a metal place. It's a food place. It opens its doors to all kinds of customers. Rather, music, especially metal, pertains to like a niche audience. That's why it's only it'll never grow outside of that.
Well, I think also,
and it doesn't
a
have
lot
pop
of people
elements.
can't handle it, like audibly. Like a lot of people, like one of my favorite things about the genre is that when I used to have people come over and they would bug me, like, they stayed their welcome. I'd just throw on some death metal albums and they just scurry off after like the second or third song. That was a beautiful thing, man, for me. I'm like, I can use death metal as a weapon. This is great. So, and mind you, I try to get everybody I knew into my favorite bands because I wanted them to feel the exact same excitement, and when they come play, I want somebody to go with when I go see these. I like going to shows by myself. I mean, I have, because I know I'll have friends when I get there, but it's so much more fun. You get a buddy along. You're like, hey man, I'm gonna, I know you're probably not into the style of music, but this band's phenomenal. How about I get you your ticket and you take me to a show that I used to do that in high school, right? I had friends that in different genres. That'd be in, had a friend that was like into ska music, right? Or EDM music, or, just like indie rock or something. I'm like, but I want to go see Carcass at, on a Heartworks tour, and they're playing at the Whiskey. I'll buy your ticket. I'll pay for everything. And then you go have this experience with me, because I want to have somebody to talk to about it. And then when a show that you want to go to, nobody wants to go to, I'll be more than happy to participate and be your plus one or your wingman or whatever. I've done that a few times, and I'm grateful I did that type of trade, because I experienced a bunch of great bands that I never would have seen on my own. And that was a wonderful trade. Like I say, I love music. If it's good, it's good, whatever genre it is. I don't care. But I have a specific genre that I really, really love. That it's so much fun to see live. It's just when you see metal bands live, their album, no matter how good your system is, it's not as good to see right in get your face melted. It's so much fun.
The problem that I'm facing with metal is that it is fatigue. it's this case of like, oh,
You physically playing it, or are you listening
no,
to
just
it?
listening to it.
Gotcha.
Just like every band sounds the same.
Yeah.
You have the same chord progressions, the same
Yeah.
production, same
Yeah, we had
this,
this conversation. Yeah.
and that's why I've ventured into other styles of music.
Sure.
And like I like playing metal. That's why I still love being a part of it. I like playing. I would never want to play any other style of music besides metal. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like you love all kinds of music, but you love doing artwork for metal bands. Like, it's
Yeah,
the
because it's
same
most
thing.
fun. There's no like, just the subject matter is way more fun for me than if I'm going to be. I don't want to do portraits of people on top of like lowrider cars. Like that's. I mean, I could do it,
Yeah,
but
you can make a living in any facet of the
Sure.
world that you want. You know, just in any facet. You know, regardless of if AI takes over the world, blah blah blah. You have enough talent to where it's like I can do anything I want art wise. I can make prints for cars or whatever, meaning like
Sure.
graphite things like flames on your car,
absolutely,
whatever. I don't care.
Pinstriping and whatever. If that's what I set my mind to,
Well, no,
I couldn't just do it right off the gate.
no, but I'm saying like if you had to, you could.
Yeah.
You have the talent to where you could do it. You don't want to do it. I'm just merely saying like you physically want to do metal album covers. It's the
Totally.
most so
much
there's
fun.
a beauty of that. There's a beauty of like doing things for yourself because they mean a lot to you only. Like there's a beauty, there's a beautiful aspect to that I don't think people understand outside of this particular community, and that goes for all kinds of music. You know, people doing it in the country thing or this thing, or so I think there's just a beautiful aspect to being like so dedicated to something that you can't even explain. And metal for me is kind of like that. It's like I can't explain what metal music means to me. So like it's in order to give back to it, this is
I've
what I
always-
enjoy the most.
I've always said to me is like a shield, right? Like it gave me a lot of protection. It gave me purpose. It gave me a focus on my, like when I'm my younger days, when I was very angry, very spiteful, hateful. Like it was like, oh, that the music was like the soundtrack to my spirit, man. Like, and the beauty of it too was it was like the underdog at the time. Like now it's, I mean, like I say, it's in cartoons. So but at the time, it was technically just better than everything else. It was faster, it was heavier, and it was the underdog. It wasn't as appreciated. People like smirked at it. People make fun of it. And like to me, it was like the closest to any religion I ever had was that. And, you know, I'm not as angry now. I'm just more sad and frustrated by certain situations as opposed to like, I don't want people to be hurt. I have kids now. So like I look at people as somebody else's kids. So that changed my perspective a lot. And I don't need to be that angry. I don't need to be holding on to that type of energy all the time. I'm grateful I get to release it in art. And I think it's a very healthy way to work out some of people's frustrations. You know, I think it's the most healthiest way. You know, like, you know, going through breakups or just going through whatever, and you just listen to like whatever your favorite album that's just ultra brutal, and you just sit with that album for whatever that hour is. And so instead of you hurting somebody, hurting yourself, you can just sit with that type of, it's almost therapeutic for me. I'm only speaking for me. I don't speak for anybody else. This is my own little journey, my own little world, my own perspective, my own trip, right? And so for me, that it gave me a badge of honor, man. That's why I held it so closely. That's why I wanted to share it with the people I loved, and even the people I loved didn't want nothing to do with it. Like, this is just, I couldn't understand why they didn't connect to it as much as I connected to it. And so more and more I try to share it with people, the more and more I found how rare it was. And that's why when I would go to shows and want to have that connection with certain people and you're not getting it, you're like, dang, man. I'm even in a smaller niche than, because in metal itself at the time it was a small, because it's power metal, there's thrash, there's just like heavy metal, and there's whatever, all the different types of stoner rock, and doom, and but like that specific death metal, like that was so itsy bitsy and tiny, and there's only one or two other people. Even like in other metalheads, you're like, oh, you don't listen to this band? Like, this band's amazing. Like, so you just keep getting smaller and smaller in your own little group, and then at a certain point, I'm like, oh, then I have to hold on to this. With I have to at least, like I say, the whole gatekeeping aspect is try to keep the purity of it. Like, I don't care. Like, bands can do whatever they want musically. People can like whatever the heck they want. Whatever. This is just my opinion. This is just what I like. Like, you can tell me, such as we can have our favorite band, and you're going to tell me, oh, I love this album more. But I'm like, oh, but I love this album more than this other album's kind of terrible. And, not that I'm judging you, but I'm kind of judging you because this album is like the worst album from them. But at the end of the day, who gives? I don't care. Like, this album's still going to make me happy, and I'm just grateful that we have a common like in something, because I've talked a lot of smack to a lot of my friends on a certain album. Like, prime example, Metallica, right? I only like this, everything with Cliff Burton and Justice for All. Everything else past that, not really into. Sorry, it's okay. I'm not that hardcore of a fan, and so I've other friends that are way hardcore. Whatever Metallica release, I'm gonna love it. I'm like, I'm not that dude, man. I can't be that guy, So we would have our, qualms and disagreements, and I'd even like break it down why I like these albums so much more. But at the end of the day, hey, it makes them happy. Why am I in anybody's way of anybody's happiness?
And it's why I try not to talk smack on any of our songs or albums or this, because somebody actually enjoys.
They love it.
They like, again, I've heard on numerous occasions that one of our albums, any one of the four so far, has literally changed their life and prevented them from harming themselves. So they latched on to our album, which now becomes their album.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is when it comes to art or music. Or I want to venture into this discussion with you.
Sure.
And just ask how your book is doing.
I love you, T. I think about it more often than not. It's been on my mind more so. I just wish I loved my art more. I just look at my work and I just don't like it, So like we talked about, like, I know it's not about me anymore. It's about just getting it out there. I just have to just do it.
Well, okay, so let me branch off, because there's a couple cool concepts that I'm kind of coming up with in my mind right now. So even though you're not a fan of it, maybe you go into like a band's catalog where you've worked with them and what your album cover means for them, and then you say your piece on it. So it's always this yin and yang to the band. So then you have a different perspective as, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. Now I can kind of add on to what they're saying. So it enlightens you to like revisit that piece that you might not like or whatever. So I don't know.
It's
fun
right.
concept.
I'm all about it. And because I've been really thinking about it, struggling with it. And I want to do that in tandem with the podcast as well. Right. Because there's a lot of bands I've worked with that, they're really great people in a lot of these bands, truly, and I kind of just miss them. I just kind of like, I wonder kind of how are they doing, what have they been up to, even if they're not writing music anymore. But like that one part of my life, like that's kind of a big deal. Like I just want to chime in, like how you guys been, what are you guys up to now? Just you might be in a whole nother. You might be in a different genre or not make music anymore. You might, but let's just talk about that one moment, document it.
And that could be your page. Where
that could be the page.
You don't have to like the album.
I'm with you, T.
I'm just trying to give you.
I'm with you, man. Like I say, I've been sitting thinking about it.
Make it fun.
I haven't I just haven't made it a habit yet.
And it's just one more thing you can sell.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
you already
absolutely.
own the album cover, so you don't have to get
and
any
I say,
permissions.
Well, I just want to give light to a lot of the bands that didn't have the opportunity because of, maybe the internet. Like a lot of the bands I worked with was like the MySpace days.
Well,
That's kind of how my career kind of popped off, was during the MySpace days.
well, let me venture off this point too. Again, I've asked you this, and it's going to happen. I'm doing one thing at a time here. I think a documentary could show this just as well.
Right.
Like venturing into your life. I wanted to kind of go into what my thinking was, and I can tell it on the podcast, and we can have some fun with
Sure,
it.
I'm in.
The book.
I just need somebody to push me along, T. That's all it is,
like,
man.
So, like, if I'm doing the documentary for you, and like, say you're working on the book simultaneously, it's like now we have this thing that we could work together on.
I'm in.
And like, it's like,
I say yes.
I guess what I'm saying is so like this Heretic documentary that I'm doing, like, I'm now a part of their legacy in some sort of way. Like,
Absolutely.
it's not on the musical aspect. It's just here's
you help telling their story.
Right. So like with you, it could be like that. It could be like, okay, I get to tell, I get the opportunity and privilege and honor of telling not only
too kind, buddy.
Tony Koehl's story the way that I want to, or that I envisioned it.
I see, yeah.
Of like all this like cool stuff. I'm like, but I have so much. For one, I love you as a human being.
I'll back at you. Buddy.
You're extremely talented.
I'm glad
and
you
it's
think
like,
so.
and three, I just feel like there's not a lot of people that understand you as a human being, or that maybe have not heard of you. So you're obviously part of that underratedness that I always am trying to help push that along into another avenue that people can discover you or the band that I'm working with, or just something like somebody needs to do it.
Well, I would love it. I would, yeah. Like I say, even if just, like I say, just push me along. Hey, how's the book coming along? I'm like, oh, you're right, T. All right, so let me put like what I need to be doing, like every Tuesday from like 6 to 11.
Pick an album cover.
Yeah, just pick an album cover and just retch into it. I know, we've talked about it for years. I know, you're 100% correct. It's just one of those things. It's I'm always thinking about making art. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
but that is art.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
Making a book? You ain't going to tell me that.
It totally is. And it's just one of those things that's like, I'm making a lot of songs, but never putting it together in an album, right? That's kind of where I'm at.
A lot of riffs.
You're
making a lot of riffs.
Yeah, a lot of riffs. I got a lot of riffs. I got a lot of noodling.
Yeah,
but
I can't make a cohesive song or record.
I'm with you, man. And like I say, there's a lot of great.
But
I've worked with a lot of really cool bands throughout my career, for sure. That some of them have, went pretty big. I just finished up. I don't know if I can say it, but I can say it. But the New Job for a Cowboy. I just finished up that cover and the layout. I did the layout for the vinyl and the CD. I don't know like what they're gonna do with it. They're gonna probably like pull it apart and whatever. They're kind of an interesting band to work with. It's like they're a big band to work with, but a lot of things I don't want to agree upon with them messing with my art. It's kind of a bum deal, but it's like and part of it too. I don't feel like I've really worked with a lot of big bands for people to even know who I am. A lot of the bands, I feel like I'm like the king of underground bands. Like I have definitely worked with more bands that no one will ever hear of than the bands that have.
But again, it's just like making a record. You're doing this for you. So why the fuck do you care who is heard or this? That's what I'm saying.
My thing is that
it's
if I'm going to make a book and no one buys it, I can just have spent my time making more art, and I hope someone will buy that piece.
Okay, I mean,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
I get it.
It's just I don't want to sit and have boxes of books I can't move.
Right, but okay, so like let's go
Maybe it's
to
a print on
like
demand or something.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. Or, I mean, I know we've been talking off air with a certain book company that wants to work with
yeah.
you.
You know what? And they
Like
would
something
they totally would.
like something like
They
that,
totally
and you
would.
can go over a concept with them. Say, hey, man, my buddy's doing a documentary on me.
Yeah, I know.
And
I
this,
know.
that, and the other. And
I definitely know. They
I'm just
probably
saying,
would.
when the time comes, really, just think about it.
Yeah,
Is my point.
absolutely.
Just think about it, because I think you certainly are deserving of one.
Oh, thanks, man.
And
I'm glad you
I mean,
think so.
why not? What do you got?
Yeah, no, you're
What do
right.
you got to
I
lose?
mean,
So
there's
you
a
have
lot of- I have
boxes.
I got a lot of artist buddies that have released books, multiple books at this point. And yeah, I know. And also, I think part of me, I kick around the idea thinking like, there's a lot of people that don't know what bands I've worked with. And at least this book will kind of like put it all together and say, hey, man, like I say, just a lot of pieces of my art I'm not very proud of. And I just have to get past that, I always have to remember, like, I didn't do it for myself. I did it for the bands, like I want to make the bands happy. So I kind of just did whatever the bands wanted. So to me, I don't feel like it's my art. It's just like, I'm just a tool. I'm just trying to help bands do, get their vision across. So I don't have any pride to it, but I don't know, man. Like I say, it just, I don't have any pride to it. I just don't. That's the honest of truths. I just like look at it. I'm like, oh, it's cool. It's okay. Like I look at a lot of the work. I'm like, oh, to fix so much of it. But then I have to remember like their budget. Like their budget's super low. Most of the bands I work with, the budget's like I can't even live off it. And I'm just happy to just be able to work. And it's a lot better than a lot of other crummy jobs I've done in my life. It pretty much like if I'm gonna get paid minimum wage, I'd much rather get paid minimum wage doing album covers than all the other terrible jobs that I was doing. And so that takes a toll. I've got hundreds of these bands, and then I'm like, oh, it's hard to sell the work, A, when I'm not proud of it, and two, looking back on it and looking at all these new artists that are coming out, I'm like, I can't even compete. Like
Right. We've had this conversation before, but I guess why I was asking about the book is like, how would you design it? What would be like?
I know the title.
Ooh.
Yeah, the title's called Dead Horse. Like beating a dead horse.
Isn't okay.
That's my title, man. It's
Not
something.
Sketch the Soul.
No,
the Dead
not
Horse?
Sketch the Soul, because if
Dead
I'm doing
Horse
album
series?
covers, it has nothing to do with my
Okay.
personal work. Maybe like a couple pieces in there. A Sketch the Soul book would be a lot of my third eye work, a lot of my personal stuff.
So you can have all
I have
different
like- oh,
types of books. Then.
Totally, yeah. I want to do a release a black and white book. I have a lot of black and white designs. I want to release a book with the pure debauchery stuff. But it's just, I don't know. I just don't see a market in it. I just don't see. I just don't.
mean,
Oh, I know, but like
it's-
it's easier to put a CD together than it is put a book together.
I mean, you can do print on demand and things.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
just to sit there and like just lay it all out.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that I just need you, man. Just chime in, Tone. It's Tuesday. Where you at? I'm like, oh, you're right, T. Okay, and then I would do it. I'm like, all right, man. That's all. It's just, I just have to get past it. I just have a weird thing in my head.
You'll get past it at a certain point in your life.
I don't know why I just go so sad looking at my work. I just wish I was better, and I just feel like, oh, it's because there's so much better artists out
But
there.
we all feel like that.
I
You
know.
don't think I sit there and say, "Man, I wish my vocals weren't this bad," or
Yeah, but it makes it you.
Well,
At
again,
least
you can apply
stand out and say
but
it.
you can apply that same thinking
I
to
know.
you.
I know.
It may-
I'm
what's-
a walking contradiction. I get it. I totally get it. I make no sense. Right? It's like,
Well, no, that's not true at all. You just make no sense
I'm
sometimes.
just making excuses more than sense. That's all.
But it does take dollars and cents to
Yeah,
print a
it-
book. So I get again. I'm trying to weigh
But-
both.
But like I say, I'm going to be 47 in the end of July, and I should have had like 3 books or 4 books at that time. You know what I mean?
And you can do different volumes if you need
Yeah.
to. Like you have so much to. Obviously, you would do the big pieces probably first and introduce people to like
the more familiar pieces, more familiar bands.
Yeah, so
It's like I definitely have enough content. That's for sure.
I don't know, man. I just get excited for like people releasing art to the world because this world it needs more art in all facets of life. It needs more.
Well, and I think also especially in the metal scene, I don't think there's enough. Like like Dan Seagrave was one of my favorite death metal artists. I so wish he had a book. I would love to buy his book.
I'd love to buy his book too.
Same, yeah. I hit him up years ago about it, and he's like, yeah, he's kind of in the same boat. I think with me, he's like, it's just a lot of work, and not sure, but he for sure will. I mean, he's guy's the godfather of death metal covers, man. It's just so good. He's got plenty of work.
I mean, Repka's done it.
He has a book.
I'm sure he has one. Yeah, dude. When you work with like,
I know, we're so many great. He's such an awesome artist.
Megadeth
too.
and Death. Dude,
oh my God, so many good ones. Yeah, so many, still killing it. Yeah, so good. Yeah, there's so many great artists out there.
Anyway, you're in that boat to me, so
thanks, buddy.
That's all that matters.
Well, I'm glad like I say, I appreciate that you care. Obviously, where my heart's at with it. But like I say, I would do it for you, but you would definitely get the special thanks and the credits.
That's not what I'm after.
I know that, but I mean, it's just you're one of the very few people that actually over the years bring it up. Nobody else. I have other artist friends that they never bring it up. You're the only person that ever brings it up. Other bands I worked with, they've never brought it up.
Well, again, your talent, your immense, just you as a human being. Why not?
Yeah,
you got to lose a couple hours of your time. That's fine. You have this book now that'll last forever.
You are 1,000% correct.
I don't know.
I have.
Dude, Leah Scott Price. Does her comic books and
but she's a comic book artist though. Like that's what she does, right? She's got to make a comic book. She's got to do it.
Yeah, but you can go to Comic-Con with your book or this festival or this
No, you're right. You're 100% correct.
You go to conventions with your book.
No, you're right. No, I say, man, I've been thinking about this for years and years, and I probably
there are possibilities of getting it,
well, it's a great portfolio.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like, because I'm always selling prints of the work and stuff. It's like, buy the book. It's probably the same price. You're going to get all this type of artwork with thumbnails and little maybe backstories. Because a lot of bands don't really have backstories.
And you do galleries. You can always sell them at a gallery.
Galleries. Galleries are a tough gig too. Another hard thing as well is because the content, a lot of people don't want to have like dead people hanging on their walls, or it's very difficult to even have.
Oh, I was just talking about that.
But like certain galleries, like the gallery circuit's very, very tough. Like I've done it in my beginning of my career, and it just didn't pan out, man. Like it's just one of those things. Like everything else, you just have to do it all the time. And I'm like, I don't care enough. That's why I like bands, because I'm like, I'm going to be at the shows anyways. I'm going to go to these concerts anyways. Can I just get a little booth and do a little live art? So to me, it made more sense. And then I can still work, and then I have an opportunity to work with the bands. But so it's just a more win-win as opposed to like at a gallery. They're like, you got to do X amount of paintings, a week or whatever. I'm like, I can't paint canvases, art. Like, dude. Just all the prints and stuff that you have and the artwork that you got for me, you just have a little bit. I have a whole house full of this art. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I keep making more of it. I'm just being encroached with all my work, and it's like after a while, what do you do with all the work that doesn't sell? You're just holding on to them. You're like, maybe I can give them away, but you don't want to give them away because then there's no value to it. And the person that you're giving it to, like I've done that before. I've given family and friends artwork, and then 6 months later, you go in their garage and there it is, like in a pile of trash and rubble, dirt, dust, everything. I'm like, now I'm just pick it up, wipe it down, and take it back. You're like, just that's so
disrespectful a little bit.
Yeah, so that I don't do that anymore. It's like, it should be worth something. I spent like a day on it with my own art supplies, and that should be worth something. So art it's not for the faint of heart, man. This is not. I wouldn't want my kids to do this. I just wouldn't like to make a living out of it. It's there's a mental illness in there. To me, I feel like I have a huge delusion, but I enjoy it.
But you
man.
love to.
I
again,
love it,
it's-
man. Like
it's-
I say, it keeps me calm. It gives me purpose.
and it's needed.
I just
and
I,
and it's
I can't help myself.
it's neat. But again, it's just one of those things where like it's needed. It's so.
Well, and also another beautiful thing about it too. One of my favorite things, like I say, I set up my little booth at all sorts of weird, goofy spots, and I love once in a great while, man. There'd be a couple people that would just really connect to the work, and just because I'll be sitting like in a corner, and my artwork would be a little bit farther away from me, but enough I can still see the people. So if they like look and see me, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's my work, it's my stuff. But I love looking at their facial expressions. Like it's funny because I can tell right away when they like it or when they don't like it. And then when they like it, and then they turn around and like we lock eyes, and they're like, "Are you the person that did this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the person." And just like the look on their face is priceless, and you can't get that. You can't get that from any other doing anything else. If you're doing a performance, that's in the moment. Right. And then once you're done with the performance, they'll come up to you. "Oh my God, that was great. Your band is rad," or your dance recital, whatever, your play or whatever. It was amazing, but I get to see it in real time. The first time they're like looking at the work and they're like, what am I looking at? And that's a fun experience to go through. And yeah, I've definitely touched some people, man, with my work, and that's what's important.
And we kind of share some of the same commonality with that. It's very rare, but when it happens, it's really special.
Oh my
for
God,
me.
it's the most special thing ever.
It's special when you get to hear it from somebody that you respect, but it's also like whoa, I didn't
just
know
a
that.
stranger you never even met.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
never even met this person.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is like when we had the San Diego Metal Swap Meet.
Oh yeah,
and
that was so much fun.
Somebody came up to your booth.
Oh my God, huge fan. They were a huge
of
fan
like
of
your
yours.
work.
Yeah, but your band, like all the Madrost stuff. I'm like, Tanner's right around the corner, right? What? They got all super stoked. They got that bought that vinyl record from you.
But my
or from
point
me.
But my point is when they saw it, they didn't know who did the album
Right,
cover.
that's
so
true. That's
It
true.
also
That's a double whammy for them.
yeah. So it was like what? I wonder if they even said like you
They
did.
might not even put two to two together. Some people don't even do that.
Yeah, that's
They wouldn't even know. They're just like, oh, there's just some guy selling artwork. Wouldn't fathom that the artist would even be there. It would be somebody else. I've had that a few times. I was like, no, I did the work. What? You did all this? I'm like, yeah. I did. Yeah, this is all my stuff. It's not even all of it. This is just.
But the fact is like you got to see that.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I didn't
super fun.
I didn't get to see
Well,
that.
yeah,
So I felt it through
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah, I had to tell you, man. It was just too cool. It's just, yeah. But don't you want to hear? That's what you want to hear, though. Like I love hearing now. And someone says, "Oh, dude, this is the guy I've been talking about." Like you've been talking about me, and then they look at the work and like, "Oh my God, you're right," and they geek out. You're like, you're geeking out. I hate my work. You like my work? Like that's incredible. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I guess I don't suck that bad.
it just validates all your efforts
Yeah. Oh my
into
God.
into your craft, dude.
Yeah, because like we talked about this before, like the internet's gross place to be validated. Like I say, you have thousands of so-called fans or followers, but yet 7 people put a like on your thing. But if I was a big-breasted hot chick, you're getting hundreds of thousand likes. They were born that way or have makeup or whatever. Like, dude, I'm working on a talent. Like something I spent my entire life trying to master, and I'm sharing it for free. Like, you're not even have to pay to see any of this. And you're like, I kind of like it. It's whatever. Not that I need it, but it's like, well, what's the point? Like, all my favorite artists I follow, love it. So dope. I hit it because I want their page to hit up in my algorithm, so not miss their work. I'm just like, oh my God, it's incredible. You can keep working on this level. And then at this point, I'm just like, should I even show anybody my work anymore? Should I just show like maybe one piece a month and just keep it all to myself? And then, but I don't like doing that because once again, I don't want to be like Prince. I don't want to keep all this artwork, and when I'm dead, no one's gonna know what file, how to even get into my computer, what files. Like, no one's gonna know. Like, none of my family's gonna know. Are you kidding me? So it's
and
like,
it's gonna all go in the trash.
yeah,
like,
it's gonna be somebody's burden, man.
Yeah,
it's gonna be somebody's burden, and it's just like, oh, that's why. Like, I wish more people would buy art just to have it a safe place somewhere, you know, as opposed to me just hoarding all this stuff because I can't sell it.
Well, I like looking at people's artwork, just knowing that like effort got put into this, and it was a human being that did this.
Some of these people are just geniuses.
Like you look around the studio here, and I have other people's artworks. I even have my artworks that I attempted to do. And
I know that. I know the barn.
Yeah,
where
I tried to just.
I remember the barn. You did. You didn't try. You did.
It's
a barn. I know what it is.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
But I'm saying it's like
you could paint better than I can play guitar. So that's cool.
Well, I can always teach you that.
Yeah,
but the thing is,
you did it. I didn't.
Like, I appreciate art just as like for what it is, not just playing music. Or I mean, I was kind of always a radio guy too, so that's just another form of art.
Yeah, art form, absolutely.
You know, so I guess that's why I appreciate all forms of artwork.
Same. I love
I
love theater. I love dance. I love it all, man. It's because I know
there's an art to cooking. Like, I started to
oh my God, absolutely,
to learn how to cook. I bought like weird stuff. I get it. It's probably not weird for other people, but it is for me. Like, I bought an eggplant, and I'm like, I want to learn how to.
Yeah, they're tricky though.
I want to learn how to. My mom's gonna help me or teach me how to make certain things with it. I'm like, I want to make eggplant parmesan. Like, that sounds dope.
That's a great skill to have, buddy.
So just knowing that, like, I love to cook. It's
same.
When I was
I love to cook for people. I just don't love to cook.
Oh,
but if
I
have
do,
like
dude.
if I have a group of people to cook for, I'm like, all right, what do you like? What's your allergens? Like, are you gluten free? Are you allergic to peanuts? Tell me your limitations. Let me get down.
Well, the thing is like, I love cooking for me because I feel like I never get to do that. Like, I always feel like I'm in a rush, or like because I'm always like at my folks' house. They're always cooking, and it's like, so when I get the opportunity to do it for myself, I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to actually I'm going to see if I can do this. And then the challenge is like, even if it looks terrible, but it tastes amazing, it's like, that's all I care about anyways.
I'm the same way.
It's all coming out the same way, so it's all going to look the same when it comes out. So it's like, I don't care if it looks ugly. This is how I learn and grow at this craft, is by just
like I say,
rinse and repeating.
If you make the same dish 30 times, I mean, that's just anything with any type of growth, right? Like I say, I've been doing this beautifully grotesque series, right? This is big breasted, crazy monster chicks, because boobs are hard to paint. I don't care what anybody says. They're extremely difficult to paint. The human form is extremely difficult to paint. And two, like, I like drawing offensive stuff or painting offensive. I like jabbing at people one way or another. Like, I've done enough zombies and mutilations and demons and, being tortured,
dicks and balls.
Yeah, dicks, all that stuff. Dicks, all of it, man. But like, and it's fun to get the reference. I love it. Like, you get to use plenty of reference online. You're like, these are just amazing. Like, these people are genetically born with something that not everybody's got, right? And they offend people, which is odd to me. Like, why are people being offended when someone's or they have, like, they can get fake ones or whatever. But I like the real ones, man. I don't know. The real ones to me are amazing. Fake ones, that's. You want to talk about another mental illness? We can go there too. Like,
body dysphoria?
Yeah, like stuff like that. But it's not. If it makes them happy, it doesn't matter what I think. But I do have an opinion on it. but I'm not going to force my opinion on anybody because it's not my life. Do I have a preference? I do have a preference, but both are perfectly fine. I'm not here to judge, but deep down inside I am judging. I judge everything. We all judge. To say that we don't, you're already lying, and I don't believe you, and I don't believe anything coming out of your mouth, But I like a certain thing, so I'm studying a certain thing. So, but more I get to paint this certain thing, the better I'm getting at it. Because I did 14 of them, and my last 3 are a lot better. Because I don't have really opportunities to really do it. Like I don't do figure drawing as much as I used to in college. Like I don't take those classes like I should. I don't have anybody in my life that would let me paint them. So I have to, I have to just use the reference. And oh, my bad. My little thing died. That's okay. But I like the idea that it bothers people. Like the world offends me in general. Like the whole thing, this whole system offends me. And for me to paint something, I'm literally throwing mud around, painting an image, and it offends them so bad that they can cancel me on a social media platform. That to me is ridiculous. So I want to do it more now. Like now you're just pissed me off. Like you're not going to stop me from doing this. I could care less. Like, but I'm going to get better at it.
It's kind of like when people disagree with me on the interwebs. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to talk about it even more, just to piss you off.
Yeah, well, just because I have no problem with it. I don't know why you should have a problem. If you don't like it, don't look at it.
Don't
just
listen
pass,
to it.
but yeah,
Don't watch it.
It's all an opinion. It's fine. Like I'm not painting this.
I'm
painting it because I like it.
Yeah,
I don't care if you like it or not.
Not to meet their expectations, but just to paint it for you.
Yeah, I'm just doing it for fun. I don't get to paint stuff for myself.
Yeah.
And like every subject matter, and it's hard to paint. And like I want to paint something fun. At the moment, painting big boobs is fun.
Yeah.
I don't get to do that very often. I don't get paid to be doing that. Like, unless it's like being mutilated or something and like, that's whatever. But I just want to have a reason to do something that's different and get me back into painting, doing something traditional.
But also, there's an art form to the female.
Oh my god, it's
form.
so hard. It's so hard.
No, but there's a beauty aspect and an art. Again, that's why like when I totally like understand like the nude model thing too, where like people pose nude and you get to paint them.
Amazing.
There's an art form.
It's so difficult to do.
Male or female.
No,
whatever.
absolutely. And all body sizes too. Like I've spent many years. I'm in school for a long time. I've had many figure drawing classes, and it's a lot of fun. My favorite body style to paint is voluptuous, men or women or person, whatever. Anybody with curves. People that are real skinny. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of detail. It's a lot of bones, a lot of muscle. But the very curvy, because I know there's weight to it. Like when they're sitting down, like the gravity pulls on their body.
Well, there's also
it's beautiful.
There's also depth to it.
Yeah,
not weight, but I would say the word is depth. So there's like a depth to like
it's like
a form or just like there's something to that's beautiful. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, and that's why. And here's another thing too in our society, like people quote unquote being overweight is a bad thing. Like, oh my God, you can't be overweight. I'm like, everybody's different. Everybody has different body types. Some people are really skinny. Some people are medium. Some people are just big. Like, I've never had a weight issue, right? I can eat whatever I want. I'm gonna have a little panza, but this is many years of loving. But like, I've never like had an overweight problem. Not saying that I will in the future, but I can just never have. And I can eat whatever I want. But some people can't. And like, so it's there. So you're gonna judge them because of that?
There's literally like an unhealthy aspect to it. I mean,
Sure.
like it's bad for your heart.
Right. There's an obese. There's a level of obesity.
Right.
once again, there's always a bell,
Yeah, exactly.
right? There's always like there's people on one side of it, and there's people on the other, and then everybody else in the middle. Right, the
I don't
balance
know.
of it.
Again, people have their preferences.
Yeah, but
Society has its preference, and it keeps ever changing.
absolutely.
And it's weird, and
it is. Yeah. So once again, it's fun to enjoy what you enjoy and express what you like. There's nothing wrong with it in my book. But everybody, once again, everybody's going to be. We all judge each other, right? We all have an opinion. We all got something to say. We all want to be heard. We all do, and we all deserve it. We all have these platforms to be heard, right? And so, might as well, because in the '90s we really didn't have anything. We didn't have like opportunity to do podcasts or.
Dude, you were lucky to get one interview.
Yeah.
Like just from a college radio station that
Absolutely.
you
or
you
even
knew.
Or are you having an opportunity to even show your work in front of people? Like there's a lot of rigmarole you had to do. You got to bring a full portfolio. Like now I just send people just some JPEGs. Go to my website.
Do you remember, like, okay, case in point, just 10, 11 years ago,
Okay.
when I first started on KTST FM with Benny the Breeze.
Benny the Breeze.
Do you know how
I
many-
love Benny the Breeze.
Yeah. Do you know how many stations were doing that, or what that can invite bands on? And
I didn't know anybody.
yeah,
I didn't know,
none.
unless you're like a college radio station, maybe.
but even that,
But even that, like 88.7 when I was a kid, it was in Claremont.
like KXLU is one of the very few that
And what school or where's
I
that
can't
at?
remember what it's
Okay.
it's Los Angeles County.
Okay. Yeah. So and that's super ultra rare.
Yeah, so
and-
you would have to literally drive up
Yeah, I did.
an hour. I did too.
Yeah.
I drove up an hour just to get the opportunity to be interviewed, and
Yeah,
then
it's super fun.
when I got the opportunity to create that for other people, regardless of the blowback of me always playing my own band because it's my show.
Yeah, but you should be. I mean, what a great way to promote.
Right. So, but my point is like I provided opportunities to other people,
Yeah, you did it for me.
and where it's like, because I knew the value of it. Maybe other people didn't see the value of it. They probably do now, but just having the fact that we can have a conversation that's just at any time, get it recorded, get it documented, like that's something.
Share it.
There's something very special and unique to that, because at the same time too, like there are other people that think they're alone still.
We all do.
There are other people.
I think about it. I think about it all the time. I feel, as you get older, right? Like I say, I'm going to be 47.
like people don't stop. Like people just
No,
stop
I
caring.
just feel like all my friends. I don't drink alcohol anymore, right? So I don't feel like I have a lot of friends.
Well,
Like I feel my friend group went down to like maybe 5. Maybe.
but isn't that there's a beautiful aspect to that. There's not as much bullshit involved with.
Yeah.
There's
But
there's a yin to the yang to like everything, right?
But I like people. I'm a social butterfly.
That-
and you only have to deal with somebody's bullshit if you allow yourself to deal with the bullshit. Right? Like if people are going through
Well, with alcohol, there's a lot of bullshit.
oh my
attached to it.
gosh.
So
I created bullshit because I was bored. Like I just have I don't know, we all have our special minds and I just made problems because I was bored. Like I should have just been doing more art. That's why I'm not bored, because I can calm my mind thinking about other things. And when I'm drinking with other people and they're agitating me because whatever they said, and I'm drinking this truth serum, and nobody likes truth because everybody has their own truth, and being drunk, no one's going to come together in like a positive light. Oh, you're an a-hole. Times I had to wake up and apologize the next morning for just saying the most outlandish shit, because to me, I thought it was hilarious. Everybody else around me didn't think it was very funny. A lot.
Well, you know what's interesting, and again, maybe you definitely have inspired me to. I just find at this stage in the game for me, like instead of like trying all these different brands of beers and this, that, and the other, waking up hungover, have to drink countless amounts of water just to get up. Like I found with like tea, I apply that same thing. Where it's like there's so many different kinds of tea now that I'm
so
like,
many of them.
I'm like, oh, like you mean I don't have to just like green? I'm like that's why I didn't drink tea was because I hated green tea.
Gotcha.
Like I hate green tea.
Gotcha.
It just I hate the taste of it.
That was me with light beers.
So
I
like
like the darker beers.
So when I
that
found
drink.
like, and I hate coffee. I'm not a coffee
I love
guy.
Coffee. Oh, jeez, Louise.
So, and that's okay. I found what works for me, and
Yeah, absolutely. And we could share it together because I love teas. I love all the teas.
And then I also support like small business, like, and they're not a sponsor to the show, but I really love coffeebrandcoffee.com or whatever, and it's
What's that?
Coffee Brand Coffee. It's like it's a place with, like where I got all those bags of
Yeah,
of
those
tea.
look great. Yeah,
they sell hot cocoa and
Oh,
coffee.
is this local?
They're from I think they're from Arizona or something. They were on there. It's a podcast that I watch called the Quartering. They do more. The guy Jeremy he opened his own coffee company, and I'm like I like to support the channel, and I also wanted to see if I would like his products and whatnot. And I ended up loving his products and going through. Dude, do you know how fun it is to like pour the water in the thing, get the strainer, wash out the strainer from all the excess?
The ritual.
From, like,
There's a ritual to it.
The whole process of and then you
Absolutely.
get to say, okay, how much do I want of this? Okay, I'll put a spoonful.
Yep.
I want two.
You want it
okay.
stronger? Yeah.
So there's just a beautiful aspect to doing that, rather than me coming
There's
home.
art. There's another art to it.
Well, but rather than me coming home from work or whatever, and immediately going to the fridge, grabbing a cold one, which again, I mean, I don't not do it. I haven't done it in months.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, but I haven't done it.
Drinking is just I can't do it anymore because
Well, but I'm saying is that
I'm a
process has been overthrown. Like I enjoy the process of putting my tea together rather than going to a fridge, grabbing a cold one, and then like being miserable and having second thoughts of like what's really going on. I don't want to live in that headspace.
Yeah.
So I choose to, and my life is a lot more positive.
It is
Just from not putting negative influences.
you got to put a
in
poison in you.
Well,
Body's
yeah,
not fighting a poison.
and you know what's this is good for too is your overall like digestion and things of that nature where like say you have issues with it or you have trouble.
Well, and there's different teas for different ailments.
Yeah, like you have trouble urinating. There's a fucking tea that fixes that.
With your kidneys, there's something wrong with your kidneys,
Yeah,
something wrong. You want to detox your liver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, there's an art form. They've been drinking it since dawn of time.
And it's something that they won't sell you on TV and whatnot because it doesn't promote it promotes wellness rather than get on big pharma's pills or whatever.
Absolutely.
This is what it leads to. It's all. So my point is like, they don't advertise vegetables either, and I love eating vegetables. So
right.
like, anyway, but that's my point is like I just like the ritual of the tea thing. So when like, again, it's something we can bond with, but for different reasons. Like you have your reasons for liking it. I got my reasons for liking, other teas. Like every time I come over, I'm like, I want black tea every single time. Like that's what I like,
buddy. I got the good stuff.
Like I've been getting into this Irish tea from this company, and I'm like, oh, you mean there's other forms of?
It's funny that you say that. I was in downtown Claremont last week with a good buddy of mine, and there was a really cool tea place that didn't make it. Yeah, and you can go in there and you buy it like loose leaf tea. They had all these bins of these teas from all around the world.
You can make your own. I didn't know you can make your own tea.
So you can make your own blends. You're able to make your own blends. They had their own pre-made blends and stuff like that. But they had the oolong tea. They had all different kinds, and they broke it down. What tea? From what region? Was it from Sri Lanka? What is it good for? Do you want to be able to dream well? Like they had it was just to walk in there to learn.
These places exist?
Yeah, it did. One in Claremont did, not anymore, unfortunately.
Well, if you find one, call me.
Let's
dude, it'd be nice to go to like a tea place because I know I don't.
No,
it'd be nice to get away from this and like actually have like
absolutely.
outside of all this, and we can meet up. And there's a tea place.
I'm sure we can find one
There has
in
to be.
Irvine.
There has to be one.
There's
around.
got to be. We have
Hey, tea. Let's
Let's
jump
go get
into-
some tea.
let's
Tea.
go- yeah, let's go in. Let's have a.
I'm in.
Because I don't. Have
I love
to,
tea.
I don't have to drink.
Yeah.
I rarely eat fast food. I'm sure they have good food at tea places too. They don't
I'm
just
sure
probably
they-
sell
oh,
tea.
Yeah.
There's probably
tea.
some food places
Well-
that they have tea at. And
Like I say, the beauty of
sure they want-
living where we're at, there's a heavy Asian community that they special. I mean, their culture is all about it, and so once again, it trips me out. People being racist. It's like all the different races bring all this amazing culture to you. Like it's so weird to me. Like their food, their different drinks, their music, their art, their everything. It's cool. Like I'm grateful that I was ever brought up with any one particular type of thing, So I was always been open-minded to try different experiences. And because we do live in Southern California, that's one of the blessings of it. We have so many different cultures, from Hispanic, from anything, from Asian. You go to certain regions, certain cities have more of a particular type of population, and their food is incredible. I'm a foodie, man, so I love all this really amazing food all around. In Covina, there's even an Ethiopian shop or a store there. We've eaten a few times, but we don't eat there enough because there's a lot of great Mexican restaurants there as well.
Well, one place one type of food that I love eating that I don't get to eat as much is curry.
Oh,
I'm a
curry.
huge curry guy
All
because
right.
I don't know.
Have you been down the street? No, there's a Thai restaurant right down the street here that has an amazing lunch menu.
Well, let's
We should
go.
have some curry there.
Okay.
It is so good.
All
It's,
right,
it's one of the better places around here that I found.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. We'll have to, maybe in the next week or two, whatever.
I'm in.
Whatever.
I love that. Like I
works
say,
for
we just found out about this place, and they have an amazing curry because I had it.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure all kinds of. I can get chicken curry or whatever.
All of it. Well,
Yeah.
they have. Well, so they have red, green, and yellow. And then you get any type of meat you want on it.
Yeah,
You can have
yeah.
like pork, chicken, or vegetables, or
Right.
tofu, whatever you want.
And then white rice and
Yep, it comes with white
pita
rice,
bread.
comes with egg roll, and it comes with either Thai iced tea or Thai coffee.
any pita bread you can get with it because
Well, not pita bread. Pita's that's more of
that's what I'm talking about, like that Indian curry.
oh, that Indian. Okay, this is so this is Thai. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
so there's
I
a
need to
different
try
type
it.
of curry. That Indian, there's a place that's okay around here. We can go check out. I can take you.
We'll figure out a couple. I'm sure there's a place around we can.
There's always
we can-
places.
So anyway,
I'm always down to try a new place.
but dude, so if you can believe it, we have hit the 3-hour mark.
All right. Then that's awesome because I'm pretty much done with this painting.
Isn't that amazing? We
That is
just we
amazing.
just did our own version of the Rogan experience on
Well, we
on
crushed
Poppitt's
it.
Corner.
We crushed it. I
So-
think we did a good. I think we touched a lot of things. I think we had a lot of good subjects.
Healthy debates, healthy.
debate. Yeah, absolutely. And once again, bottom line to everybody is that be better, do better.
That's right. Well, I hate to be like the quote unquote traditionalist here on the show, but where can people locate anything?
Yeah. If you
Tony
want
Koehl?
to, for me, it's you go to sketchthesoul.com. Just go to the hub. Because you go to my website, it links you to everything else, whatever social media that people are into. Some people might use TikTok more than Instagram, or use Instagram more than Facebook or YouTube, whatever. Go to the source, sketchthesoul.com. I am always posting up new artwork there at least once a week, twice a week. You can, and once again, you can plug into all the different social medias from there. Thank you again, T, man. Always a pleasure, buddy.
And as a special kind of bonus for this particular episode, Tony has graciously provided some. He's been painting.
Yep.
And nobody has seen it yet. He's not going to show the camera yet.
No.
But after the episode airs, he has a time lapse.
I do have a time lapse.
And he's gracious enough to provide a copy to me, and I will put it on after the episode airs.
Absolutely.
So Tony, I really appreciate just you as a human being, and it blows my mind just that we've been friends for so long
yeah, man.
and continue
And
to grow with our experiences.
I
and-
agree. I'm with you, man. I love you, T. And like I say, thank you for doing all the things that you do. Thanks for Karen. Thanks for all the hard work that you put into. I'm super excited about your next adventures with this documentary. I couldn't imagine all the amount of work and going into it, but I'm very excited to see when this thing airs and all the positive feedback that you get, and looking forward to seeing you continuing making this stuff, because like you and I both talked about it for many, many years. If no one else is documenting it, if we're not going to do it, who else will? You know, and these people are fading out, you know. So thank you, Auntie.
And I you know, back at you, Tone. I love you very much, dude. The fact that like you still wear a Poppitt's Corner shirt
Oh my
on
God,
the show,
of course. Every time, all the time.
just puts a smile on my face, just knowing that, like, you know, somebody that's put his heart and soul into what he's done, even though I haven't been doing it as long. That doesn't really matter.
As long as you do it.
It's just the fact of we both have put in hard work where it needs to be in different facets of all walks of art and life. And I just appreciate you as a human being.
Back at you, brother. Like I say, it's all, you know, and you know, our common bond is metal. You know, it's our
music,
common love.
absolutely.
That's what's beautiful about the metal genre. It brings rad people together.
Absolutely. And we try to have our own community here, not just a clique.
Nope.
But make
at
sure to
all.
go check out Tony Koehl at sketchthesoul.com. And Tony, I look forward to doing many more of these with you, sir.
Same, brother. Same.
For another episode of Poppitt's Corner, guys, we're out of here. Cheers.